Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. And, oh shit, I'm dead.
Shit.
The unfortunate news came out today that the beloved Bob Uecker, also known as Harry Doyle from the Major League movies, passed away at the age of 90. And going back to October, when the Milwaukee Brewers were eliminated from the playoffs, the last words that Bob Uecker had uttered was, "This one hurts." Like almost knowing that maybe, I don't know if he knew then or if he had a kind of sense or foreboding kind of sense that this is probably my last shot to get to the World Series with this team again and win it.
Because I'm not booked.
Exactly. They were not booked for the World Series. And unfortunately, Bob Uecker passed away at the age of 90, which is rather sad, I think selfishly, but also you have to realize that he died at 90 and has seen more things and lived and also worked up and through last year. So it's not like he retired and has been off and doing whatever the last 5 or 10 years. He worked up until he was 90. And a fulfilling career, probably the best broadcasting career in the history of Major League Baseball, other than Vince Scully. And I only say that because Vince Scully has literally saw everything. You're talking about from Jackie Robinson and Koufax to Kirk Gibson and Clayton Kershaw. And that, you can't take away that type of history, that voice. And for the Milwaukee fandom, and also for the rest of baseball fandom, Bob Uecker was that. And there'll never be another Bob Uecker because we live in an age of social media where everybody is sensitive on how they play and how they perform at a major league level. Not just in baseball. It's that way in the NFL, basketball, the NHL, same thing. And Bob Uecker was able to turn an unremarkable major league career into a remarkable major league broadcasting career. And I say that will never be done again because of the sensitivity of today's athlete. No one is going to be able to take themselves to that self-deprecating level, at least anymore, I don't think, to the extent of Bob Uecker. And it's going to be hard, I think, for the world of broadcasting and baseball to be able to replace that voice, because he's irreplaceable as far as that is concerned. Also was, for the outside sports fan and baseball fan, if you saw Major League, of course, he was a major part of it. And all three movies, actually, he was even back to the minors, even though I don't count that one. I barely count 2. The only parts that I count 2, I think, are the ones that he's in. I could have carried, and Jack Parkman. Harry Doyle and Jack Parkman were the best parts of Major League 2. Everything else was kind of just like, this is exactly
for
like
me,
one.
I hate to cut in here, even though you didn't intro me at all.
Sorry.
I'm just fucking with you. For me, you're right, but it's also Serrano and Tanaka.
Yes, no, that's true.
Those were pretty good parts, too.
Those were good parts. And I even forgot to introduce myself, I don't think.
I don't think you...
Yeah, I pretty much just went as soon as you played the clip, it just was like, I'll talk about Uecker now. And completely forgot of introducing myself.
That's on me.
No, it's not on you.
No. I'm talking about when it played. So this thing. For those that are unaware, I'm Mac, by the way.
I'm Dale Burke, by the way. Yeah. Sorry.
I have the quick sound bites in its own folder, but since this
shit
is now a new soundbite that will be featured on this program,
Forever immortalized Bob on
Yep.
this program.
We will definitely do that. I did not change the settings, so anytime now that I change slides on the streamer or the recorder, whatever you want to call this, it's going to do that. So I'm going to actually change that as we're talking right now because, oh crap, I forgot. So,
you know what? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. But at the same token, it's one of those situations where,
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's a technical flaw sometimes. You can't be perfect all the time. Unless you're Kurt Hennig.
Again, I told you in pre-show, and I'll tell everybody now. Sometimes when I do these sound bites or I do any type of recording for the show, it takes me a few tries to get it right. I might have to edit it. I might have to do anything. But this one took one shot, and it was so perfect.
Oh, shit.
Absolutely. It's just, I love when you are able to just be, because both of us, growing up in audio editing and that type of stuff, you always want to be able to hit the post every single time and just make it. And you also want to do it one shot, even when you're doing live reads, stuff like that. You want to be able to one shot it. That was always the goal, especially at FM. Like, I'd be at CCC, Caroli, Stephen Wayne, all those guys. And that was the professionalism, because sometimes even doing this, I'm like, but you're seeing those guys, they're looking at a read. They look at the copy for 15, 20 seconds, and they're just like, bang, one shot. And I'm just like, well, thanks for making my job easy, because now I don't have to do shit except make you sound better. But that's it. Like,
it's funny. I watch one of these news channels, like the 24/7 news channels, that have the same thing like all the time, and they just kind of filter through it. And I'm like, I wonder the same thing sometimes. Like, how many times did it take them to get that shit right, so that now they could just sit on it for 6 hours until the next, news guy comes in and records the next one for another 6 hours. It's like, it just makes you wonder about shit like that sometimes.
It's got to be like that job, especially because it's like, yeah, you're on rotation, especially though if there's breaking news. It's like, well, should I not even go home?
Yeah.
Like, Christ.
I'll just stay here.
Like, I'll just sleep here for the next month. Like,
those storm trackers are the first thing that pops into my head when you say that.
Oh, God.
Any big storm, especially in the Northeast, it's like they're there for like 24 hours. It's like, oh my God.
Especially those hurricane people. My God. Like the ones in Florida. They're just like, I don't even know if we're on the air right now, but the hurricane's literally right over us right now. Like 175-mile-an-hour winds. The roof has been torn off, but I'm still here broadcasting. Like, just these insane people. You're just like, what the fuck you doing? And it's the same thing with like Tornado Alley, and especially the people in LA, because holy shit, if they
a lot of those people, for a lot of different reasons, have not slept. So, yeah,
they've had a what's none of the situation is funny, but it's very weird that someone that you may at one point used to listen to when they were on other things, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh shit, he's still around. And that was me this week, or the last week and a half, with Adam Carolla, who from the Man Show, and also I think Loveline with Dr. Drew back in the day.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, and so he has had a podcast now for ages, and the reason why, too, he's also been kind of like on the fringe is because of the fact that he is a bit conservative with his views. And, your conservative media, they tend to kind of drown you out these days. And he, however, has been getting massive viral. He has gone viral with a lot of his discussions and rants because he used to work construction. And he lives in California, in Malibu, which pretty much got wiped out.
Yeah.
And so he's telling everybody, it took me 2 years to pull a permit to get, like, I think he had to pull a permit for, I don't even know if it was him. I think it was solar panels or something. And it took him like 2 years to get it done because of permits and all that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And the state also has probably the highest tax rates in the country as far as income tax. Pretty much it's like if you make $10 million in the state's going to make at least 5 of that. They're going to take it's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so they're paying the most taxes in the country, yet there's no water in their fire hydrants, and they don't have a reservoir that's full. So how are you supposed to fight fires? Like, just how? And the person that is supposed to be in charge of filling the fire hydrants in the California county gets paid $750,000 a year.
Jeez.
And most of the hydrants had no water in them.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I heard about that. I just the whole situation is crazy. We talked about it a lot last week, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But just entirely holistically, the situation's crazy. You kind of wonder when you look, because as you said, like the prices out there for anything are pretty much through the roof, right? You look at near us, right, in the New England Northeast area, gas is maybe like $3-4.
Right.
You look at last summer. You look at last summer, and gas prices in California and parts of the West Coast in general are like $7.
Yep.
And you look at the per capita, the tax rates, and all the other stuff out there, and you look at also from, I would even argue before COVID started, up through COVID and to now, how many people have left the West Coast because of just skyrocketing prices, how things are managed, or in some cases maybe mismanaged, and just everything. And then you look at the response to this, and I'm not going to sit here and say the response is terrible, but to your point, why are the hydrants empty? Like, why?
Why is the reservoir dry?
Yeah. Any of that, like, why? And, you make the arguments of, like, oh, they're going through a drought and all this other stuff. And listen, there is truth to that as well. But at the same token, what are they doing about it?
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. It's the same with the reservoir and same with the fire hydrants and everything else. Why is all that shit empty? And, there needs to be kind of a look into why things got so bad. Even before this, but especially after it. Why are things the way they are?
They said LA, the entire area, it's going to take them 5 years to recover.
Oh, I believe it. I believe in some cases for certain people, individuals, because of where their houses were maybe and the damage to their houses, which is a catastrophic level, it's probably going to be longer than 5 years for some of them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for some of them, they're never going to be able to even do anything. Like, they're going to have to leave the state probably. Especially, too, concerning the fact that most of the insurance carriers drop them because of the state, because of the fact of the forestry, which when you have a tendency to have wildfires in your area, you need to clean your forestry. You need to get rid of brush. Yep. You need to get rid of all that. And they haven't been doing that. So because of that, a cause of, and the effect of that is that 70% of the California insurers in the Los Angeles County dropped fire coverage.
Yep.
And you reap what you sow. It's a terrible situation. I feel bad. I feel bad for all the victims out there. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, well, a lot of these people are millionaires. They still lost fucking everything.
Money.
They still lost their homes. They still lost memories. They still lost valuable possessions that you're never going to be able to get back, including like Mel Gibson. Even though I'll give Mel credit because, especially in his days when he wasn't, especially in the days of his substance abuse, where he seems to be kind of at peace with everything now. And he was just like, it could have been a lot worse, like just a kind of a mentality of just like, yeah, because he was on Joe Rogan this week and made some news, that he was on Fox News. It's like, oh well, okay, Mel. Like,
Jeez.
I mean, yeah, God, because you think how interesting 25 years can be sometimes, where it's just like 25 years ago, this guy was like untouchable, and now it's just like, what, you're on Fox News? Didn't you make Braveheart? Like, what the hell's going on here?
He made a lot of movies, if you think about it.
And then you fast forward, and then you have to go back in Wikipedia. Oh, that's why.
All right, so hold on. You brought up Braveheart, so I want to ask this question. And completely hypothetical. I know it's not related to anything we're really talking about. We're talking about Gibson, so it kind of is.
Yes.
Braveheart or The Patriot?
Patriots. Because you know why? Patriots shorter.
Yeah!
It is
And
shorter. Yeah, I
It
know.
is way shorter. But I also think too that it's like it's honestly more brutal as far as violence is concerned. It's a lot more brutal.
I think
Which is
it's
saying
neck
something.
and neck. I think
It's
neck and
very
neck.
close.
It is, yeah. I think there are parts. I think there are more parts in Braveheart that are a little bit more gratuitous. But
Yeah.
I think the level of gratuity, I agree. I think The Patriot might have the edge.
Now I think also too I did like the ending better.
Oh yeah, it's way better. But
It's way better because it's just he gets the revenge at the end. You're just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
fuck
you know,
you, Mr. Malfoy. For those Harry Potter nerds out
I'm
there.
going to kill you. It's like, oh, it's just he. And the thing about Mel is that like, and I know Mel Gibson is kind of like in the Hulk Hogan category for me. It's like, yes, I know he's a terrible person, but the art that person has been able to create
Yeah.
and the impact
Yeah.
that they've had on my life, I can't discredit the work. As the person, I do not condone any of their actions and what they've said and things of that nature.
Right.
But I still kind of their work holds up. I mean, even though Hollywood's kind of forgiven him anyways, because I was shocked when he got nominated for Best Director for Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah. Same.
I was like, I never thought that would happen again. And he didn't win, but I was happy he at least got nominated because it's just like, okay, you're at least welcoming him back in because he's
open the
kind
door
of
a little bit. We're not going to let
open the door a little bit,
but you can
Yeah.
peek inside now again.
don't fuck this up, Mel.
Yeah.
Like it's the way I keep looking. Like, come on.
I want them to kind of follow the same path of like Robert Downey Jr., which ironically they've been in movies together. Funny enough.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I want them to do the same for Mel and be like, okay, you fucked up, but we're gonna give you some chances. And
Actually, RDJ has endorsed Mel
he has
a lot,
yeah.
like
And
publicly.
Mel did the same thing in the past for him, so that doesn't surprise me that much. Honestly,
They've always had kind of like a good kinship, which
they have. Yeah.
you know, and it's one of the because Robert would just be like, well, when Mel didn't want to hire me, when nobody wanted to hire me, Mel did.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of the way I think he's looked at Mel of just like, you need to kind of let him back in the door. Even though it's like, I understand why. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same. It's like with Hogan. It's like, I understand why. Yeah, it's like that with Kevin Spacey. It's like, I understand why.
Yeah, but that's different. Space.
That's different. The Spacey thing's different now because he actually hasn't been found guilty of anything.
That's true too. But if he is found guilty, then that's still different for me.
That is still different. I mean, but then we have. There's always this gray area, like Michael Jackson, and then, you know, because it's tough. There's people that you talk about that it's just like left a tremendous impact on pop culture. But at the same time, they just have these huge black clouds around them that it's just like, you don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
You just, the black clouds of like, this is Pandora's box. I don't want to go in it. I don't want to go near it. But yes, thank you for Thriller. I want to still play that. Like, you know, like that's the weird, weird part. Because, and it's happened so much now because you look at like Pulp Fiction and you're just like, oh, I know who produced this. You know, it's
Yeah, I blocked that out.
you can't
I
block
have
that
to.
out.
I have to because
Yes.
he's only the producer. He's not an actor. He's not the director. He's really not involved. It's just his money paying for it. That's how I look at it, and that's how I'm able to get through, especially Pulp Fiction.
Speaking of directors, the second of the two celebrity deaths that we've had today, I needed to mention him. The director of Eraserhead, the director of Twin Peaks, and the creator of Twin Peaks, mind you, David Lynch, passed away today at the age of 78. Over 107 director credits. Complete insanity. And also a writer, producer, actor. I was saying earlier that he was actually the voice actor. He actually was the bartender, the voice actor for the bartender in the Cleveland show. That's how fucking ambiguous some of his work has been. It's like he's not even on the American Dad. He's on the Cleveland show. It's like the third ranked. It's like the one that nobody wants to talk about. He was on that. But I always found he was always a really intriguing guy, always a good interview.
Yeah.
Even though he really didn't do many interviews, he was just like, he just came off as this grumpy, eccentric guy, but yet at the same time has made some of the best work ever in film, including Mulholland Drive, also Blue Velvet with Dennis Hopper.
Jeez, man.
The thing that brought Dennis Hopper back to prominence in the 1980s was because of David Lynch, because we talked about Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr. Dennis Hopper was kind of in the same boat in the 1980s, and David Lynch was able to bring him to prominence again and get him to get an Academy Award nomination. The whole story of the casting of that was quite interesting because David Lynch had shown Dennis Hopper the script, and Dennis Hopper called them back and said, this is not Dennis Hopper, this is Frank Booth. That was the character that he played, because he just became and understood that character.
Yeah.
And still one of my favorite lines from that, what beer are you drinking? Heineken. Heineken? Fuck that shit! It's Blue Moon! And it's just one of my favorite lines that sometimes randomly it'll just come out in a bar or like a liquor store. One of my friends is buying Heineken. Fuck that shit! Like, brilliant. But so David Lynch passed away, and Bob Uecker. I don't know many people that have that in a 3-team parlay. I don't know who the third one in the parlay is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That's a twofer. What the hell is this? Like,
yeah,
Bob Uecker's.
I don't want the swing, man. I don't want whatever swing. I don't want it.
Bob Uecker's at the pearly gates. All of a sudden, David Lynch is just like, "What the hell is this? Why am I next to Bob Uecker? Like, why?
Oh, God, yeah, seriously.
On the same day, really?"
Oh God, yeah, that's crazy, man. I wouldn't have even, I wouldn't even thought of that had we not had this conversation.
So after the news of Bob Uecker and the shock of that, and kind of everybody kind of reminiscing in our favorite Bob Uecker moments, also talking about like major league clips, a major wrestling announcement has been made that I think I'm shocked yet not shocked, because of the fact that it had been, even though I felt like with Jordan Grace's contract coming up, that their sentiments may have been like, well, we got Jordan Grace, so we don't need to keep doing this. However, WWE announced today that they are now in a multi-year partnership between TNA Wrestling and WWE NXT. And this is going to start as soon as this weekend for Genesis, as the logo has already been shown where it shows the NXT logo. So that means that as of right now, TNA Wrestling and NXT are going to be kind of crow branding for a while, which I kind of expected this with Anthem when Scott D'Amore had left,
Yeah, same.
that they were going to, because they're not wrestling people.
No, they're not.
They are network people. And I felt like that even though I guess that there was Scott D'Amore, this was his idea. This is something he wanted to do a long time ago, but that Anthem never did it. And now Anthem is in a position where it's like,
I'm sure Vince being in power doesn't exactly enable
that was a big part of it too,
yeah.
I think. With Vince in power, this never would have happened.
No,
there's no way this would have happened. And I think that because of the talent that TNA still has, also some of the talent that has gone from WWE over to TNA, because you have to look at it like the Hardys are there now. Mustafa Ali, who was actually voted the Independent Wrestler of the Year by Pro Wrestling Illustrated this year for 2024. So Mustafa Ali is I never can think, and Brock Lesnar has ruined his career. Because every time I think of Mustafa Ali, I just think of Brock going by him, looking at him dead in the eye and just pointing at him and saying, "Get a life, kid." It's like, that killed him. In my opinion, that just killed him dead. But he's the Independent Wrestler of the Year for 2024 for Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
I think he should be, though. Listen, for all intents and purposes, I get it, but Mustafa Ali is talented.
Yes,
he is.
I agree. He is.
If you look at other, I'm just gonna put in air quotes here, even though nobody can see it, indie talent, there are equivalents, but I think when you look at overall skill, be it in the ring or on the microphone, you could do worse than Mustafa Ali. I'll tell you that. Like Ricochet.
Well, we'll get to him later.
Yes, we will. But I do actually have the press release, so I'm actually gonna
Prince Nana.
Prince No. I'm gonna put the press release at the bottom. I'm gonna read through it so everybody can understand kind of what we're talking about. This is actually right from the WWE website. So WWE, part of the TKO Group Holdings and TNA Wrestling, one of the world's top wrestling brands, and a subsidiary of Anthem Sports and Entertainment, as Dan mentioned, today announced a multi-year partnership aimed at creating unprecedented crossover opportunities within WWE and TNA programming for NXT and TNA. It says superstars and wrestling stars, but yeah, you get my point. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship programs such as NXT, which airs live on the CW, and TNA Impact, select WWE premium live events and TNA pay-per-views, in turn bolstering their in-ring development and exposure. Okay. We'll have to see if that actually happens. To world-class talent and coaching. I should finish the sentence. The historic relationship demonstrates that collaboration and competition do not have to be mutually exclusive, said Ariel Shinrir, Senior Vice President of Content and Distribution for TNA Wrestling and Anthem Sports and Entertainment. Our partnership will allow TNA Wrestling brand and its incredible athletes to reach a significantly wider audience while giving WWE and NXT stars an opportunity to cross the line and gain valuable experience as they join forces with one of the most talented rosters in professional wrestling today. The response to our collaboration over the past year has been tremendous, and both companies have benefited. But the fans have reaped the greatest rewards from this talent crossover and working relationship. We look forward to growing and evolving our partnership with TNA Wrestling and its outstanding group of athletes by creating new opportunities to further the development of our talent and to elevate and the viewer, experience at home, said WWE Senior Vice President of Talent Development Creative Shawn Michaels. For TNA Knockouts champion, Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry frequently appeared on NXT programming in 2024, highlighted by an NXT Championship match featuring Hendry and Ethan Page at No Mercy, and an NXT Women's Championship match featuring Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez at Battleground. Many superstars also crossed the line into TNA Wrestling, including Wesley's short-lived reunion with the Rascals, Charlie Dempsey, and the No Quarter Catch crew, Riley Osborne, Dante Chen, Gallus, Ariana Grace, is that still her name? Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, Wendy Cho, Brinley Reese, and more. TNA Impact airs on AXS Access TV and TNA Plus in the US, in addition to being distributed internationally on TNA Plus and other leading broadcast platforms, including Sportsnet 360 across Canada. In November 2023, WWE and CW announced a 5-year agreement to bring NXT to broadcast television for the first time in its 13-year history. So yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, but at the same time, it's quite historic.
It is.
Quite historic.
They could do their own Forbidden Door if they wanted to.
They wanted to. It's they might because we are in Rumble season. I mean, we're just a few weeks away from that, and the more God, it's one of those. You're starting entering that time of the year where it's like, I know the predictability of this, and I know where things are going.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, well, not if certain fucking people are going to be the main event.
I hope not.
I just, it's look, if he's in the main event, fine, but he cannot win.
I agree.
And this is going to be discussed at length, I'm assuming, because I already know their idea and what they want to do, and that seems to be the direction they're going, which is fine.
Triple H,
but
hire me.
Yes.
I already gave you the best idea for the last 2 weeks.
We all have. We both have. Like we both could have much better ideas that would make a lot more money and a lot more sense than what we're going to go with. But, because it's like, oh, we're going to give him a consolation prize on his way out the door. Why?
You know what would be hilarious, and I know they'll never do this, but it would be hilarious, is to have John Cena versus The Rock for the People's Championship. For the People's Championship. That stupid belt that he got from Muhammad Ali's widow, just that he carries around everywhere now.
They got to finish their trilogy because it's at 1-on-1. That should be the match.
Yeah.
I'd actually be fine with that. I'd be like, all right, who gives a shit? Just put it up with that People's title.
Yep.
You need that. You need to have that winner, that tiebreaker settled. Because look, I understand they're going to give John a 17 championship, but they're not. At WrestleMania, I think it's just.
They just don't need to.
They kind of they want to.
They want to, but it doesn't mean they have to.
I don't think it was. Let me say this, and it might be a little controversial, but it's just how I feel. If it did not, 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago was not a possibility. 5 years ago, it wasn't. It was all right. It might be a possibility. The last 2 or 3 years, in my opinion, the way that certain people have conducted themselves, now I think it is a very good 95% chance they're going to have them do it. And it's just their way of seeing things. Especially, too, when it's just like, well, Charlotte should break my record. I was just like, yeah, it's going to be John. It should have been Orton actually, but it could be Orton. Orton could still walk out of this thing with 18. I don't think because I don't think we're ever going to get to a day and age where anybody wins 10 world championships. Those days are over. Like that's never going to happen again unless these guys are around for 30 years. It's just because we're in an age of they don't hotshot world titles anymore. Vince doesn't. Vince did, but
He hasn't in a while.
those days are over.
But yeah.
It's now I feel like will we see a championship reign maybe end after 6 months? Probably, but you look at Gunther, he's headed to 6 months. If he retains at the Rumble, yeah, it's going to be 6 months.
Yep.
If he retains, or for that matter, he retains at Saturday night's main event, so it'll be. Which again, another brilliant thing where I'm sitting there and I'm just shaking my head at. Jey Uso is in the Royal Rumble, yet he is challenging Gunther at Saturday night's main event.
Yeet!
Why? I know, we should be talking about the TNA partnership, and here I am. I'm just nitpicking things.
But we're talking about the Rumble too, and I think you're 100% right.
It just led into that.
Yeah, it did. But I also think that you're right. We're going to see a lot more women and male TNA talent, I think, pop up.
Oh, without question.
Because we already see, I don't know, anywhere from 3 to 5 NXT talent pop up. So I think it's only natural now to have more than, I'll say it that way, 1 or 2 TNA talent. Because I think last year it was one of each.
Yes.
I don't even remember if we got a male talent from TNA. I know we got Jordan Grace, and she was in the match for a very long time, by the way. The year prior, I think we had Mickie James, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that was 2 years ago. I don't remember.
That was a make good because they fucked up her release.
100% it was. But she was still Knockouts champion at the time.
Yeah, she was.
So, I mean, that, it was the make good, but it was still important to have her there, too, because she wasn't.
She is now working with, she was at NXT this weekend, I guess, backstage. So I guess
that. I heard Charlotte was, too.
So she's kind of become more of a producer backstage.
She's also married to the fucking SmackDown general manager, just saying.
They got to be loving life. It's just like
Seriously.
Nick has got to be like, I don't need to get in the ring anymore. I'm making good money. I'm making more money than Billy Corgan was paying me. I don't have to take bumps. Like, and which is great. But I think Nick should get in the ring. Nick Aldis, let me say this to people, and I this might be a controversial statement, but this is how I feel. Nick Aldis did everything he could to bring back the prestige to the NWA title. When he won the title, especially when he went to All In and when Cody beat him, but he brought a ton of prestige back to that championship and made people care about it again.
Yeah, where's the lie? How is that controversial?
And it's not controversial, but
you're like, this might be controversial. I'm like,
well, I don't know, because there's some people that shit on Aldis, and I'm just like, and I'm also gonna say that Aldis, in my opinion, is one of the best NWA champions of all time. And that might be the controversial comment that might get people.
In recent memory, I would say.
In recent memory. But I would also say maybe top 15, top 20.
I think that's completely fair. I think he's the best recent.
The best of this generation.
Champion in the recent generation, correct. Is he the best overall? No, I don't think so. But if you're placing him in the top 15, top 20, I think that is more than fair. I don't think there's anything controversial about that statement whatsoever.
And, because what am I going to say? Tyrus? Because he's obviously the best ever, right? God, fuck. Talk about a jump the shark moment where I was just sitting there and I'm like, should I just flush the one that I have sitting on my shelf and just get rid of it now? Should I just flush it down the toilet? Because I feel like that's what the title is worth at this point. And that's. Oh God. But you think about it with Impact and TNA, because that's how they all started. They were a member of the NWA affiliation, and then they went through the Dixie Carter years, And then they went through the Billy Corgan, Dixie Carter years. Then they went through the Hulk Hogan, like all these iterations, and also the amount of times for a 5-year period where I felt like they were on the verge of going out of business hundreds of times.
TNA, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were just on the absolute verge of just, and you'd hear about it. Like you'd hear that certain people weren't getting paid and they were behind on pay. Like a lot of the production guys hadn't got paid in years.
Right.
Billy Corgan was funding it, and that's why, that's why a lot of those guys finally were able to get things going. And, Billy got his money back. He bought the NWA with it. So from that standpoint, he was able to get out of it. They got Dixie Carter out of there. They got sold to Anthem, where Anthem, I think, has done an adequate job in being able to get them to a standpoint where they have been self-sustainable and actually created decent talent and kept and revived people's careers as well.
I don't want to say revived, but definitely sustained.
Well, you think about like Naomi over there.
That's why. But again, like that's why I'm saying sustained. I don't think they revived her. I think they showed
No,
she
that's true.
still was a strong competitor. You could make an argument for Jordan Grace, and I get that, but is that really to their credit, or is that more like, okay, Jordan Grace was that effing good that she was able to showcase herself?
I have to give them credit for the Matt Hardy stuff.
Do you though? Do you though?
It did make an impact at one point.
Oh, pun! Oh, how punny that was.
But they've come a long way. They've come out of moments of like they're on one point on Pop TV, which if you remember that was like the preview channel at one point. They were on Destination America. The amount of just networks that they were on in like a 5-year period was ridiculous. I'm just like
even back when it was like the 6-sided ring, it was like that.
It was. I remember they were on.
Around.
I remember they were on Fox Sportsnet at one point on like the afternoons at like 4:00 every day. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell is this? But
and then they had like a Spike deal in there somewhere. I think they went
Sci-Fi. They went to Spike. They went to Spike after WWE had left Spike to go back to USA.
Yep.
And they were on there for quite a number of years until they told them, the network specifically told them, do not employ Vince Russo. And Vince Russo sent an email to Dixie about creative and accidentally CC'd a executive from Spike TV after they told them not to do that. So they said, well, we're done here. And that was it. That's kind of what spiraled things out of control. Of course, that was the Dixie Carter era as well. Then at one point, Jeff Jarrett, who I'll get to much later on as well in this program, he ended up coming back, and then they were reformed as like Global Force Wrestling because they were.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Like all the stuff that happened, and now they're at this point. Now they're at this point where it's like they're self-sustainable, like they're getting, but also you think about 4 years ago where Kenny Omega was their world champion, and they had a partnership with the hottest wrestling property on TV at the time with AEW, and they were. I said at the time, not now.
I know.
And they got some exposure with that, but not as much as exposure as with the Joe Hendry and the Jordan Gray stuff that WWE was able to get them. I mean, it doesn't show that way in the ratings, but also it's because Access TV is not exactly a cable powerhouse as far as the amount of homes that's out there too. Like their ratings are very misleading. At one point, they were on Twitch every week. They used to broadcast on Twitch.
Yep.
They haven't done that in recent years. I don't know why. because their Twitch numbers actually did okay.
Plus, you can advertise on Twitch anyways and get the advertising pay out of that too.
Exactly.
And it goes right in their pocket.
I still remember going on their Twitch stream because it was right after Kenny Omega because they were very smart about it, because Kenny had won he had just won the AEW championship. And so Don Callis was still like the creative director at that point, and he was still kind of playing both sides. So he's just like, yeah, you want to hear everything Kenny has to say? Well, you got to watch Impact tomorrow night. You'll be able to hear it.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Like, it was so brilliant. But I was thinking, but everybody was watching Impact that next night. It was just, I think they probably did their best number in years. And it just shows you how interesting that whole time period was for them. They went from Don Callis to the Scott D'Amore years, where Scott really got them going back up as far business-wise and creative-wise.
Right.
Then there was the problem that they had about a year ago, where, depending on who you want to talk to, Scott was either fired or he left on his own accord. And I think Scott feels he left on his own accord, or feels like he got fired. I don't know. It's like one of those deals. It's very gray area, and it's hard to kind of hear both sides of it, because, it's the wrestling business. And, but they did the partnership with WWE, which everything started happening with Jordan Grace. Then all of a sudden, they'd make the smart decision, hey, this Joe Hendry kid is viral. Why don't we put him on our TV? And that made, like, tremendous success for them online, for them also online-wise, even though there was people like me that were like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, I'm just telling you the truth. Like, I'm literally Homer Simpson with Ned Flanders. It's like,
that's what you're like right now.
It's
That's
like,
what you're like with Joe Hendry.
say his name. It's like, not me.
And
it's like, I don't want to hear it. It's like, I don't want to hear it.
Nope, say his name and he appears. That's what the saying is, actually, I believe.
You know who also does Bloody Mary, okay? We don't need that shit. We don't need that shit in our lives.
Don't do that, yeah.
No. And if you believe South Park, too, Notorious B.I.G., if you Biggie Smalls, say it 3 times,
shit.
comes from there as well. Like, there's several ones. And you just have to be able to be
Hey
smart
man, even
about it.
Beetlejuice is one technically. Sorry. It's what it is.
We had to take him to the vet on Tuesday. My God, that was traumatic. I felt bad for Steph, because I'm like, you got to wrangle him. He won't fucking come near me for that. Like,
yeah, he's gonna know if you don't.
I will say, pet insurance is probably the best investment you can make, people. So it was like $170 bill that I had to pay for him. Basic stuff, medications and vaccines. But the insurance reimbursed me $120 of it. So it's like, all right.
You know what it is?
Right.
You know what it is? I'll tell you, when I had dogs, man, it's if your dogs and your cats, period, like whatever the insurance is going to pay for it. But for me, like I said, it was dogs. It didn't pay for itself. I'm paying maybe, we'll say like $70 a month, ballpark, for the insurance. And that is cheaper, I will say, than some people are able to get it for.
Right.
I was able to get it through work at the time. And it was around, like I said, $50, $70 a month. I don't remember exact numbers. I think it was probably 100, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Probably closer to 100. And I paid for it for about 6 months, and the dog went to the vet maybe once. And I'm like, what am I paying for, right? It's ironically, for a lot of people, they'd rather just pay the extra $100 than pay an extra $600 a year when they really don't take the dog to the vet that often, because there's nothing wrong with the dog. I'm just, throwing that out there.
No, I understand you're throwing that out there, but I have to, with the thing with Beetlejuice is the fact is that he already kind of has issues.
That's true. That is true.
Are underlying, because he did have a history of the of ear infections. He also has the crinkled up ear, the cauliflower ear, which just I always call him perfectly imperfect. But then they were also telling me about his teeth, that his teeth are kind of, which the doctors told me last year, they were like, he's probably going to have to get an extraction at some point because they were all messed up.
Right.
And so I went to the appointment this time, and they told me they're just like, so his teeth, he's kind of like absorbing them, like they're just kind of just
Like
going,
receiving?
like, yeah.
What
So
the
it's just
fuck?
like, yeah, it's just weird. And I'm like, okay, all right,
Call,
all right, but
take him out,
cat-
slap him on a gummy or something. I don't know.
cats can live healthy, normal lives with no teeth.
That's true.
So it's like I'm not worried about it. Like it's the same thing with Daria. It's like I've had to get
she's
her teeth
older.
checked
Yeah.
before. Yeah, she's older, which she's gonna be pissed off when I take her to the vet eventually.
Oh yeah.
That one's gonna be a heavy one because I'm gonna be like, all right, every blood test.
Yeah.
It's like,
How we doing? How we
all
doing?
right, how we just all right. Let's check everything here. How's she doing? Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
But she's still getting her zoomies at 14. So
She is. Yep.
like I'm really not concerned too much of her health. She's aging, yes. I think she's a little arthritic, but especially when that goddamn stove's on, my God, she is on that thing like a nest.
Yeah.
Because she's just like, oh, my joints, they feel so wonderful.
Yeah. Seriously.
But again, she still gets her zoomies.
Yeah.
Still gets her zoomies. So it's like, all right, I'm up. He's doing something right. You're still doing all right.
Yeah.
So
I will say this for this deal, kind of bring it back for a little bit. I think this really gives both companies an avenue to really have a little bit younger talent and develop them in multiple facets. And now, instead of just having WWE scouts looking at the wrestling schools, you also have TNA scouts doing the same thing. So if they were to get a younger talent, a younger guy, now they're exposed to two different brands. Maybe they can sign a big contract with one brand. Maybe they can develop them a little bit differently, bring them in, get a look, get a feel. Because, not for nothing, that's kind of what NXT is supposed to be. It's supposed to develop that younger talent to be the stars of tomorrow, as they keep telling us. But when you keep bringing up to your main roster the stars of tomorrow, you're gonna have to replenish that talent pool. And they've gotten lucky in some cases with guys like Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker was exactly what they needed at a time when they sorely needed it on NXT. And you put him with guys like Carmelo Hayes, like Trick Williams, like Ilya Dragunov, who 3 out of those guys that I just mentioned, you've already called up now in Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov and Mello.
the thing with Braun Breaker that people need to realize too, in the history of his career,
Short history, short career.
very short history, but a very short career so far.
Right.
But at the end of it, when this is all said and done, at the end of his career, people are going to have to look at it, and it is going to have to be noted that he was probably the last hand-picked Vince McMahon guy because of when they branded NXT 2.0. He was the top guy, and he made that quite clear very early on.
Well, again, this is why I said it was
the cream rises to the top.
Right guy when it was absolutely needed.
The cream rises to the top. There's a reason why he is in the position that he is in, and there's a reason why Austin Theory is in the position he is in. Because Braun Breaker was able to say, the guy's seeing something in me, I got to run with his shit. And he's done that for Triple H too. I think for Triple H, he has just even blossomed even more as a performer. Even too when he was working. I mean, he's so good. He got people to cheer for Baron Corbin. Yeah. That's how goddamn good Braun Breaker is. That's
talk
a
about
simple
this
and
all the
unadulterated
time.
fact.
No, it is. But we talk about this all the time with how the crowd reacts to certain talent. Not the fact that they're heel or face, but the fact that they're so over in who they are and their character and everything that the crowd just cheers them anyways. We've put Rhea Ripley in that category, and on the male talent, we've put a lot in that category over the time period of this entire show. But Braun Breaker is one. And it's just like every time people see him, they're all barking in the fucking crowd. Doesn't matter if the guy is a face or a heel. They're cheering him on, barking for him. It's unreal. And both him and Rhea Ripley, who I just mentioned, are both under 30.
Yep. You're set for the next 10 years because you got your two top
Easily.
talents.
Easily.
And you got somebody also like Rhea Ripley that's just like, I don't want to have children yet. It's like, that's, if you're a booker, it's just like, I'd
Nobody's
fucking marry you if I
complaining,
could.
Rhea. Yep.
Like,
Yep. All we need to do is bring back Buddy Matthews and bring up Malachi Black, and you got your stable with the two wives of
we didn't,
Rhea Ripley and the other one, Selena Vega, and you're just good to go.
we didn't want to talk about that last week, but it seems to be, considering Meltzer has already,
Well, Malachi
started
Black, yes, not
his smash,
not Buddy.
considering they've already started their hit pieces on him.
Yep.
It's pretty much guaranteed that Malachi Black is on his way back to WWE.
It's funny, Dan. I want to cut you off for a second, but this is where I was saying. I saw a meme this morning. It was pretty funny, and it was about Selena Vega, ironically. I don't want to call it a meme, but kind of like maybe like a picture with a funny statement, really, which I guess is a meme. But still, you get my point when I say it.
Yes.
Where it was basically saying it was her with all of LWO. And it's
I remember that.
Yeah, I think you saw it. You might have been the one who shared it. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But the reason Malachi Black wants to come back is because all the pictures with Selena Vega and WWE, the LWO boys are all around her all the time, and that's
like,
apparently the deal backstage. So it's like, fuck, I need to get back there now.
Well, apparently, the morale in AEW has gone up because he has left. Because he was hard to do business with because he didn't want to lose matches. And when he was supposed to do a job, he would somehow get out of it with injuries, which I find is hysterical. It's like...
Because at the end of the day, like, the dude knew he wasn't going to do anything there.
No!
He wasn't getting...
He knew.
He's not getting booked properly, so why stay?
The
Why
only
want to
thing
stay?
they did good with him, or they did well. Sorry, English teacher, if you heard that, people. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit.
Exactly. The only thing they did well with Malachi Black was his debut, him beating Cody. That's it. Everything else was utter dog shit. And I don't blame him for saying, fuck this.
But I don't think
I'm
that's
done.
on him.
No, it's not.
I just don't. He was never
and-
booked properly.
It's the same.
Except
well,
for
I
the
guess
Cody thing, but yeah.
We're bleeding right into it because I was already going to talk about it tonight because that has been kind of the major point on my mind. One of the major things recently is just how bad things have gotten in AEW. And just from, and it's not just me saying it now, it's the hardcores now jumping over the other side because they're looking at it from this Death Rider story with your world champion is fucking terrible. Like, it is the worst storyline by a major promotion I could think of, probably since the Devil Angle from 2 years ago.
That's not saying much. I have to be honest with you. I don't even know who the fuck the world champion is in AEW anymore. That's
John
checked
Moxley.
out. Oh, he's still the champion? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I do know then, but not for any other reason than you just clarifying that.
Because, like, let's face it, last where they have Brian Alvarez said it best. So did this week. And I agree with Brian Alvarez this week when he said that Powerhouse Hobbs cannot lose it needs to be a fuck finish to extend it. But Powerhouse Hobbs has got some momentum. He's your top baby. He has a position right now to be a top baby face. So you have to book it like it's a DQ finish or it's some like a fuck finish, so that way you can do it. So what do they do?
See that? Yeah.
You know what they did?
No.
They beat him by chokeout. That's what they do. That's what they do.
I'm just gonna say this because I don't watch AEW regularly. Obviously, as
I don't watch it either, but I get the reports.
Right, but I don't even check them anymore at this point. So I haven't watched the program in a long time. I would argue that I never really watched it to begin with, but I haven't really watched it at all in months at this point. The last time I remember seeing Powerhouse Hobbs on television was when he was still hanging out with Taz and Hook.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear the fact that he's now a compelling babyface, one of the top ones in their company, and is jockeying for a world title position, that's a little surprising for me.
He just came back recently.
That might be why then. They probably
So they hot shotted it. And instead of building this guy, okay, people are behind him. Fine. People are behind him. We'll go with that. Fine. Don't have him lose clean. Don't make it. And of course, mind you, he did. There was some interference, of course, from the Death Riders, but not to the extent of. Because literally, what Moxley is doing is the Bloodline story for AEW.
Oh, I know.
Really, the Bloodline storyline, except fucking terrible, not compelling, not and the people that are involved. Claudio, okay. Pac, maybe if he was 6 inches taller. You have Wheeler, and then you have Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir, who, after that promo she cut with the fucking hat on, and I'm not going to repeat what was said, but it might be the worst promo I've ever heard. And speaking of David Lynch, there is a cut out there of David Lynch, the David Lynch cut of the Marina Shafir promo. I think it's online. You can watch it.
Speaking of Maria Shafir, I don't know why it's popping into my head now, but we didn't talk about this with the TNA WWE return, as it were, or this contract or deal that they're signing with each other. And you had mentioned this earlier, actually, so I'm surprised you didn't bring it up, but might see a return to WWE television for Tessa Blanchard.
I was thinking that today, and I talked about this recently on the program. I said, this is her last shot with a major promotion. And now
she might get 2 shots because she might get that shot with WWE again in NXT.
Tessa Blanchard, and I'm begging you. I'm begging you, Tessa, because I think you are. Tessa, in my opinion, is one of the best female talents I've ever seen in ring. She just has a fucking terrible attitude sometimes. It's made some unwise decisions.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about all those again.
I feel like now, however, and hopefully for her sake, this is the last shot. Like, this is literally it. I do not want this to end.
Hold on, Dan. I want to cut in here because this is super important because we've talked about this before, right?
Yes.
We've talked about the dream match for her, truthfully, should be Charlotte Flair.
Yes.
Isn't it almost telling that Charlotte Flair was at NXT this week, apparently?
It was very telling. I think she's scouting people.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
she is. I know she's already.
Man.
She wanted the. Because she also knows, and because we've talked about it in this program, I talked about it recently. I told everybody, I said, Tessa Blanchard against Charlotte Flair is a WrestleMania multi-million-dollar main event. I said, everybody on the planet wants to see that because of the fact it's the factor of 4 horsemen versus 4 horsemen. It's never been done. Telly has never fought Flair, and at least in a major promotion, at least that people can remember. And now it's the opportunity of having both the top in-ring performers. Both of them have the credentials. One's Flair, one's Blanchard. So that's there. But Charlotte's also looking at Jordan Grace. Charlotte is also looking at that women's roster that they have over there, that Knockouts division, and she's thinking to herself, there are some. I want to work with her. I want to work with her. I want to work with her. And
Do you think they'll do that though?
what?
Because so let's backtrack for a second. They've already been at the Rumble. They're clearly, if we're reading the statement correctly, going to be on PLEs or pay-per-views for Impact, as it were, or TNA. Excuse me. Can never get that right. But do you really think that they will put them on the regular main roster PLEs like a WrestleMania? Because that's what you're saying for Blanchard and Flair. And
No,
that's where I'm curious.
I think Tessa, if she has a good year
That's what I was thinking too.
next year, she's going to be on that roster. If
I
she has
don't
a
know the
very-
contract she signed, but who knows?
If she has a very solid 2025, and it's probably a year. It's probably a year deal
You
because
might
they're
be
probably just like, you can't give her anything long term.
A do good.
You can't. You have to say, you have to be, and it's got to be a good boy clause or a good girl clause.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But it has to be a good person clause. And there's a morality clause in there.
The morality clause. Yeah.
And she has to be able to stay within these guidelines. It's got to be a short deal. And then pretty much also this is her chance. This is her shot to be able okay, I can finally make it and finally make some big money and also be able to get rid of everything.
All the baggage.
And hopefully she's made amends with people to be able to
I hope
show
so.
contrition. Because, yeah, I wanted to succeed. I've always wanted to succeed. And that's what you make your mistakes when you're in your 20s. She was in a place where she was probably very immature and made a lot of decisions and thought with her namesake she could get away with it. And the fact is that you can't anymore. Period. No matter how talented you are, you can't be an asshole. And you can't.
Well said.
You just can't. And it's just, that's what was going on. And hopefully she corrected herself and her career can go back onto the trajectory it was supposed to go on 5 years ago.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep. I
that,
agree. She got in trouble backstage. She said and did stupid things. And, I just hope for the best, obviously, with whatever this contract that she signed is. And I hope you're right. I hope there's a good girl, good boy, do good kind of style clause in there. And I hope it's just a 1-year deal. And if she does well, great. I hope at that point she could just move up to a WWE main roster and really get a feud cooking for a WrestleMania match between her and Charlotte Flair in 2026. And shit, I'd love that.
yeah, I think that, you got the Rumble next year, which might be her goal.
Yep.
That might be something that she puts on her calendar for next year. She's just like, when's the Rumble next year? Because she's already thinking, okay, this is what I want to do.
If they're going to do that, Dan, I think that's a great start, right? But I think you plant the seed now in this year's Rumble. Plant the seed.
Oof.
Because you can always have Charlotte go to NXT for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and not consecutively, mind you, because I don't think she should be there long term for this. But plant the seeds. And then if everything goes well, all those seeds you just planted starting this year in 2026, let them bloom at that Rumble. And then have a program.
Have them just cross paths.
That's what I'm saying, but I won't
Have
start
them
it now.
just be managers or something, or just have them in a segment one time where Tessa's walking down the hall and all of a sudden,
Yep.
well, look who it is. And then you have it. Then that's your story.
Yeah.
You don't need to say anything else at that point.
No, you don't.
All you need is have both of them look at each other, and everybody knows. Because all you got to look is the history. You look at the last names, and you think to yourself, oh shit, and
Yeah.
not ah shit.
You know,
But you're saying
it's
maybe
funny.
maybe Chelsea Green, she might be like, ah shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
God, yeah. And they could have so many video packages surrounding that too, by the way, between Tully and Rick and the Four Horsemen and things that Tessa and Charlotte have done throughout their careers, obviously. Just, oh, God. So much could come from that.
Yes.
So perfect. But, yeah, that wasn't the only news in WWE this week, or we still want to talk about AEW and their week.
Well, I mean, their week for them, it's been more like a month. So AEW is, I hate to say they're on death's door as a company. They are in a death spiral. And I know people, well, the ratings, like, because their ratings went up by like 50,000. They're still under 700,000 people watching the show. And yeah, I know, oh, you're not taking in the max numbers.
That's what I was going to say. Is that the max bump? Maybe that 50,000 just is the max bump. Who knows? You know, like, I get it. I do. And I know they have their diehards that love the product. That it's just, it leaves a lot to be desired from me. And, like, we talked about Ricochet slightly earlier when we referenced Mustafa Ali. But it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, they're trying to make him be like Dominic Mysterio, and it's like, my guy.
But oh my God. But
He can't cut a fucking promo.
That's the problem. And dude, you can make the argument that neither can Dominic, but he doesn't need to anymore.
No,
and
he's gotten better as a performer.
He has, 100% he has. And he is a legit heel. Like, you look at his face and you just want to punch him.
Most hated wrestler of the year, by the way, for Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Does not surprise
Not a
me
shock.
whatsoever. No, not at all.
But, you know, he needed to do that because if he was a babyface his whole career or he was just the way that he was, he would have gone nowhere. Like, he'd be some fucking job guy right now. And now,
He's still a job guy, but...
Yes. You're going to lose 90% of your matches, kid. Sorry. But he's always going to be hated. Like, he's never going to be... He's a career heel. He's never going to be a babyface.
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I don't think that's the case. But here is another example of the future of your company under 30. And,
yes.
And listen, like, it's ironic to say that because I remember 3 years ago, 3+ even to a point, we're shitting all over him.
Oh, yeah.
We are just shitting all over Dominic Mysterio. And, man, we ate our words, didn't we? We really did with Dominic, I feel like.
I will admit I did. But I think my criticisms were, I think the way he was being booked, the direction that he was going in, yeah. If they didn't do something, they didn't do anything. Like, if they didn't do anything fast, though, he was done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they weren't going to be able to do anything with him.
There was that rumor going around for a while from the ending of when he and, I guess, Ray split up and weren't a tag team anymore. There really was some talk about sending him to NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that would have really hurt, but, you know, you almost have to sit there and be like, well, maybe it's for the best that they didn't, because look what came out of it. You know? And it's crazy to say that, like I said, going back 3, even 2 years ago in some cases. Like I said, we're just shitting all over the kid.
I know.
You know?
But at the same time, it was warranted. Like, the way he was being booked. I don't disagree
at all.
And just, he had no confidence in himself whatsoever. Now he has all the confidence in the world, I believe. And, yeah, he's a top-tier talent.
Chicken tender slut.
If he was in AEW, though.
Why? He just would have tagged up with Cook and then not been on television every other month.
That would
have been a good tag team. I'm sorry, but it would have been Hook and him.
Hook Dom.
Tag team. Hook Dom.
Dom Hook.
Dom Hook. Yep, exactly.
Yes.
But having talent that
your father is Taz and Rey Mysterio. Like, that's pretty nasty, in my opinion. What the
It is.
fuck
It
are you
gave you-
doing?
What?
What the fuck are you doing?
I heard like a bang, so I was like in my kitchen, so I was like, just like looking out. It's just, I just put the heat on, so
I just want to make sure the house doesn't explode. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because gas heat is so bad for you. Like, I love that narrative. We're using gas heat for years, people. Like, why is there a problem? But I guess everything nowadays, it's like, oh, you can't use electric. Oh, you can't use this. All right, fine. So we'll just go back to we'll just go back to the old days of just having wood and fire, and we'll all live in cabins in the woods. Like, we'll just go back to those days then. Can't use electric. Just shut up. But anywho, back to reality, I guess, or in AEW's case, non-reality. Because their non-reality is that they think everything in the company is fine. It's not fine. Your company. I was talking to a friend tonight, and I said to him, I'm like, I have the self-confidence in myself that I can fix any major promotion at their worst, except for the UWF when Herb Abrams was running it.
Yeah,
I can't do that much
nobody's
coke.
fixing that.
But I cannot fix AEW unless I make some like seriously drastic decisions.
You know what? I'm gonna disagree with you. I think that, do they have a wealth of talent? Yes. Do they have a lot of guys or girls, for that matter, that you need to get rid of? Yes. I can't underscore that argument regardless, right? But I think what they have is enough to right the ship. The problem is he's not booking any of those talent, A, on a consistent basis, or B, in the correct fashion that they should be booked. And I'm prepared to die on that hill, because I really do believe that that's the case. You could book Ricochet and Will Ospreay and a few other guys on a very consistent basis, but make it make fucking sense, because right now it doesn't. You mentioned, I believe last week, you mentioned Kyle Fletcher and that stupid tournament and how the booking decisions did not match up to previous interactions of the talent that were involved in that tournament. And I 100% agree. So again, make it make sense. You have guys like John Moxley, who is your world champion, which, listen, you could do worse.
I don't disagree with it, but
I don't either. But the thing is, you have other talent versus, like I said, Powerhouse Hobbs, like, okay, you book him on a strong return, and I could maybe see that. He's not a bad talent. You could do worse. But you have so many other guys that I don't understand why they're not getting booked, or to maybe a lesser extent, rebooked into the main event. And one of those guys is Swerve, who has done jack shit.
God.
So since he has lost the title, he's done jack shit since then. And I don't understand it. I just don't. You have a premier talent, one of your biggest signings, and I'm actually going to say a couple guys here, in Okada, Will Ospreay. Why are they not booked in the main event? And listen, I know I shit on Will Ospreay a lot and talk shit about how he's not the best on the mic, which, being real, he's not. I'm sorry. But you could still do worse, just saying, like Ricochet. But on the flip side, he is an amazing talent to watch.
Will's a good promo.
He is. He's not
In
bad.
my opinion, I don't think he's bad.
He's hit or miss. He's hit or miss
Yeah.
for me. I don't think he's the worst, but he's definitely far from the best too. But he's good. But why is he not in the main event? Like, I don't get that. I don't understand why he's not. I don't understand why Swerve has not been back to the main event since he dropped the title, basically. I don't get that. I don't get why one of your top WWE guys since CM Punk left, and I can't believe I'm saying it's Adam Copeland, is now named fucking Cope. I can't cope with that situation. I don't understand why they've only glossed on a great feud between him and Christian Cage. I don't get it. I don't get a lot of the booking decisions if you can't get what I'm trying to say. I just don't understand. So for me, it's always going to be this distant number 2 on the bottom of the Tribal Chief shoe, by the way, that literally is the case because everything that WWE does at this point blows them away. I know people want to sit there and be like, oh, well, match quality. Some of the storylines don't make sense and all this sort of stuff, but if we saw anything this week on Raw, which we're not going to talk too much about, but I will talk a little bit about it because the first match is fucking Chad Gable versus one of, as it were, the best luchadors in the world in Penta, who just came from fucking AEW. And I'm actually going to show it now. I was going to save this for later, but since it came up, we have little cringe wrestling. There's a cringe wrestling stuff on Facebook, and Proud Smark made the headline. Penta is a traitor. Wrestling seems full of them. Tony Khan has basically saved wrestling, and people like Penta spit on his efforts. He joined the Sesame Street Wrestling Organization. And apparently I need to move the picture down, so bear with me here for a second, because we do that. Wrestling seems full of them. Tony Khan basically saved wrestling, as I said. People like Penta spit on it. Him, Cody Rhodes, Jade Cargill, traitors, all of them. I'm sure Penta will miss AEW, given time. One and only Proud Smark. Dude, you might as well name yourself Proud AEW Smark, because it seems like you're all up in Tony's junk. Like, I just... I'm sorry. Like, people move companies. That's business, especially when it comes to talent. You know, like, Dan and I, obviously, as we've talked about on the show, are New England Patriots fans. Not so much recently, but, you know, still.
We back, baby.
Right. Hopefully. But, you know, did we shit all over Tom Brady when he went to the Bucks? No. Were we happy about it? No. Were we happy that he won a Super Bowl? Yeah, but we were pissed it wasn't in New England.
I was the bitter ex-girlfriend for a while.
You 100% were.
Oh, because it literally, you know what,
Yeah.
I want to know what the problem was. The day that he decided to tell us was the same day the pandemic started, and also it was St. Patrick's Day, and all the fucking bars were closed. That's what pissed me off. Because of the fact it was just like everything had just compounded in a ball of shit on one fucking day. And that was the problem. That's why I held some resentment towards him for a little while. Then I got over it. Just because, you know, it was... You're abandoning us at our absolute lowest. Not just the fact that, like, I understand that this is going to happen, but why do you have to tell us today of all days?
Right.
Can you wait a week, Tom? But no, it's yeah. God, can't believe that was 5 years ago now.
Oh, God, I know. Time flies, as it were. But this, I just, you know, it's a distant number, too, to what WWE is producing. And he's not booked the way he should be booked. Just like I keep saying about the other AEW talent that is still there. They're not booked effectively. They're not booked in compelling storylines or even compelling matches in some cases. I shared something to the group with, you know, that we have with
Boo Ran
the other day about their lineup, and it was like, oh, another, you know, great, amazing show, whatever the hell they called it. I don't even remember the term they used, but I'm just like, yeah.
Maximum Carnage this week, I think.
No, I know the show name, but whatever the post was on social media that I was
Oh,
showing,
right.
you know, it's whatever, and I'm just like, who cares? You're not blowing me away at all with this. I don't think Moxley was booked. Mercedes Moné wasn't booked, which, whatever, but supposedly she's one of your top female talents, so, okay.
She's getting better. She has gotten better promotion than Mariah May has during her entitled title reign.
And
Mariah May's storyline with Tony Storm was miles better than anything that fucking Mercedes has done in AEW at all.
yeah.
But Mariah May has barely been on fucking TV since she won the title.
I'm gonna say this as well, just because I saw the picture last week or the week before. I hate that they're trying to replicate the belt collector with her. I hate it.
I hate it too.
I'm just like,
hate
I
it.
hope Kenny is throwing massive fits to get out of that contract at this point, because the only belt collector AEW should have is Kenny Omega.
That's it. That's it. And he's also proven it with his performance at Wrestle Kingdom or Wrestle Dynasty, I think. Whatever fucking show. I think it was Wrestle Kingdom.
Wrestle Dream, I think.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Fucking say the show that did not draw as well at New Japan the day after Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah. Who didn't see that coming?
God, it's just it's a sad state of affairs for New Japan too. The way that they've lost their U.S. distribution with Axis. They had really no buzz going into Wrestle Kingdom this year, other than Kenny coming back, but also the Young Bucks are the IWGP Tag Team Champions again, which that's how bad state of affairs are there, I guess. But the fact is that yes, Kenny Omega should be the only belt collector for that company, but Mercedes is now the female version of that, and it's just
I hate it.
I hate it because it's just the wrong talent to do this with.
What? I won't even say that. I won't. I don't like her fucking attitude. I just don't.
No, I don't either.
And I know there are going to be people that are like, oh, that's the character, kayfabe. But I'm just like, yeah, you know what, though? I think that behind every great character lies a certain truth. And we talked about this with Mr. Redacted. And for those that don't know, I'm talking about Mr. McMahon. But there is always truth to a character. Always. And some people, it's nothing major. Some people enjoy the character. Some people, a little bit of everything. I feel like for Mercedes Moné, though, I feel like she is such this egotistical person that I feel that just she is her character and her character is her. And I can't stand it. And again, I think she's just overrated, but
I think she's thoroughly overrated. I think she is the most overrated female wrestler in the world is Mercedes Moné as far as female talent is concerned. And then the male talent is Ricochet. Both these people are getting paid way more money than anybody in their right mind should be giving them, especially Mercedes because of the rumors of how much she's getting paid, which she has not drawn a single dime for that company.
Yeah.
I feel like we need that Mike Graham clip when it comes to her. It's just like, didn't draw a dime. And we're at that point with her where it's just like this, she's this supposed to be, because everybody's made her out to be, the greatest female talent. She's not. She's not. The only great matches she's ever had were against Charlotte and Bayley. And both those women can have great matches with anybody. Like, you think about that revolutionary match and everybody still talks about, that Brooklyn Takeover match. That was fucking all Bayley.
Yeah.
It's been proven now.
Yeah.
It's been proven. Bayley is the reason that match was successful. The same thing with Charlotte Flair in their feud. She was a good character, but somebody else could have played that character a lot better. Britt Baker, Christ, or go with Bianca Belair.
I'm gonna say this real quick. Because every time we talk about FKA/Banks, I just remember this segment where Alexa Bliss is in the ring, sitting in a chair. I think there was and my device just went off because I said the name, but Miss Bliss is in the ring and she's sitting in a chair. I think it was her and Nikki Cross, and she's counting the amount of championships in the ring. And she just looks at Sasha Banks and goes, "Sasha, where's your championship, girl?" I just remember that every single time she's on television now. Every single time. Because it's and now she's wearing like 4 of them, for Christ's sake. It's just, it baffles me. It does. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say she is the worst talent ever. But she's not good. And she's definitively overrated to a point where it's like, I look at some of the matches she has had to gain some of those titles. Even the match she had against Kairi Sane, I'm just like, dude, really? Like, Kairi can blow you out of the water on, like, a hungover Saturday. Like, she just can. And so many of the talent on any of these rosters
and then Mina. Oh, Mina.
Don't.
Why are you losing to Mina? Why Mina? Why are you beating Mina? You should not be beating Mina. You're not even the same planet as her. Not even the same planet.
That one pissed me off.
Of course it did. Pissed everybody off. Yeah, and it's just, of course, it's the Rev Pro. It's like, what the fuck is Rev Pro?
I don't even know.
Like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
But all of a sudden, it's just like, oh, she's the champion now. It's like, great, fuck, another belt. It's like, but luckily she can't go to Impact now or fucking TNA now and take that thing.
Thank God.
Thank God that's not going to be happening. She is not someone in this industry I'm going to miss, like, at all. It's just, she doesn't.
But she was in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I don't care.
I don't care.
Cool. A wrestler was on a television show. I don't care.
But Toni Storm was the best women's wrestler in AEW last year. But I feel like she still took a back seat to anything that Mercedes was doing.
Not at first. Not at first. I think that man, how do I say this? I think he booked Tony into a corner. I really do. And everything they were doing became, okay, we did that. What can we do now?
Mm-hmm.
And then to that point, I think Tony's toys, one of them he felt was shinier now because the other one had been used so much he didn't know what to do with it. So he goes towards the shiny toy. And I don't know. Listen, I love Toni Storm. I'm not watching the product enough to say whether I would be engaged with this new Amnesia storyline or not, but I can tell you that, at least on paper, I think it's dumb.
Well, she is now the number 1 contender.
I've heard.
For the championship, and will be facing Mariah May at Grand Slam in Australia. So her home backyard, which makes me believe that.
So wait, that show that was supposed to be a stadium show that now moved to a much smaller venue. That show, is that the show you're talking about?
And also the same show that is not going to be broadcast live. It is going to be on a 16-hour delay, apparently.
I think it's 18, but I think you're right.
18-hour delay. It's something of that nature. And they're advertising that it's going to be on TNT and Max, not figuring in
the NBA playoffs.
The NBA All-Star game.
Oh, the All-Star game, sorry, yeah.
Which that weekend is going to be, and has always been a staple for TNT. So, I don't know where you're getting that information from, guys.
Yeah.
So
it's wild.
So again, but that just shows you that they don't have anybody competent, even at people at the top. Like, even like at the level of simple marketing and advertising and booking and thinking like that and programming and realizing, wait a minute, that can't be possible, right? There's no way we're going to be on TNT that weekend, right? That's impossible. Like, it would be fucking hilarious to me, though, if they're not on pay-per-view. If that show is not on pay-per-view. And, like, they show it at, like, right after the NBA, so it's on at, like, 11 o'clock at night. But this is an Australia show. Because that show is not going to even make... That show is not going to draw nothing. That show is going to draw them zero at the gate.
Well, it's not going to draw them anything because they had to move to a smaller venue, too.
Smaller venue. Then on top of that, you're having to take everybody over, all the talent that you can have work the show, your production crew, your your cameras, your rigging, your ring crew, everybody. So that's a massive expense. You also have to be able to get transport for everything from the. Oh my God.
Oh, you mean like taxis from
Oh yeah, like for yes, yes, they're perfect for that place. But it's just this show is going to be a massive money loser, and the fact too that it's not going to be on pay-per-view, so you're not going to be able to get the gate from pay-per-view. And now it's probably just regulated to a Collision, an episode on Collision, because I'm sure
wasn't everything they do at this point. I feel like
everything is kind of just regulated to. It's terrible.
Why don't you mean it that way? I mean it just in the sense of like you're at a pay-per-view and you're only drawing like 5,000. Like
it's just they're irrelevant. They're irrelevant to the utmost degree, and it's not just them as a company; it's their talent that's involved, including Chris Jericho, who Jericho last Saturday night may have put on the worst performance of his entire career, and that is saying something. Chris, you really got to think about hanging it up. I understand you're not going to because you're getting paid way too much fucking money, but you are a hindrance to that product. It has been like that now for a year. Ever since the stuff started at World's End last year, the NDA chants and all those the news stories started to come out, which we may never know what happened. We may never know, but there was the perception of everything that was going on, and also the fact of that because of the supposed incident that has been rumored, allegedly, it has derailed a real promising career because the person that was involved has had many incidences where they have had to take a step away because of mental health issues or other things that were going on, which could be attributed to a triggering or PTSD event that someone allegedly may have been involved with. And ever since then, you have been still parading yourself on television. And now to the extent of you're the Ring of Honor World Champion, which again makes no sense because, and again, also because Meltzer keeps telling us, oh, they're getting a deal. That like Ring of Honor is getting a TV deal. It's the same way that George R. Martin was telling the South Park kids in the Game of Thrones episode. Yes, the dragon is coming. It is coming. It is on its way. And that is the same thing that you're telling everybody about Ring of Honor, because you bought this company 3 years ago when it was a rotten, hussed out thing. And the fact is, in the last 3 years, you have done tiddly shit with it.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but he's actually made it worse.
He has. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Ring of Honor.
But I don't listen. I don't want to say that because they've had such great fucking talent.
Great history, yes.
Years and the history, exactly. You could do a lot with that fucking library. Instead, I'm
saying nobody cares now is what I mean.
No, I understand that. But the thing is, it's like, nobody does care now. And part of that is because what you've done, the legacy of what Ring of Honor was and stood for. And you've just taken that and done absolute shit with it. And listen, I'm going to say the quiet parts out loud for a second. You already have 3 TV shows.
Yeah,
Just
true.
fucking... okay, fine. You had...
They lost
3.
Rampage.
Right. Right. Okay, so whatever, fine. You had 3 TV shows. Why would you not just take Rampage, extend it an hour to 10 to midnight, and put fucking Ring of Honor on? Why? People would have fucking watched it. And then you already have Dynamite and Collision for AEW. Listen, I know people shit on WWE for a lot of different things, but the brand split works.
It does.
All you had to do is extend it. And I think Friday after SmackDown, especially when SmackDown was only 2 hours at the time, yeah. Now, no, you can't really do that. But when it goes back to 2 hours, maybe, or before it moved to 3 hours, you could objectively do that. You could do a brand split of Dynamite and Rampage. If you want to have a third show, fine. Put Collision on. Put your new WWE figurehead from CM Punk to now Cope on that if you want. I don't care. But people would have tuned in because now it's something different. Now you have an AEW-centered show and a Ring of Honor-centric show. And again, it fucking works. It's the same thing with what you did with Raw and SmackDown prior to the Netflix move. You have 2 top guys, effectively, because of it, in Cody Rhodes and in Roman Reigns. You interchange those guys. So now, okay, on SmackDown, you can make the argument, now it's Cody Rhodes on SmackDown. And on Raw, you can make the argument it's CM Punk, you can make the argument it's Seth Rollins, you can even make the argument it's Jey Uso or Drew McIntyre. You have a lot of talent on Raw. Why couldn't you have done that with Ring of Honor and AEW? I just don't fucking understand.
I don't understand his thought process whatsoever in trying to separate both brands. And I also think that certain things are now going to bite him because, again, as I mentioned 4 years ago, they had a working relationship with TNA Pro Wrestling. And instead of building on that relationship, they used it.
Yeah.
They did not get better with the AEW alliance. AEW did, but AEW really just used it because Tony was going on and burying TNA on their own network.
Yep.
But TNA was like, well, I guess we'll just let it happen because we're
we'll
just
take
happy
that.
that we're in there. They were just happy to get some of the buzz, but it really didn't do anything for them.
No.
And now, here they are in this working
They came in
relationship.
and stole the fucking belts.
Exactly. That was all it was. It was just like, it was for him to be able to get another championship. And that was it. It did nothing to help TNA in the long run. Where now, everything that's gone on, especially with Joe Hendry, especially with Jordan Grayson last year, TNA, some of their pay-per-views have been getting 4,000, 5,000 people. They've been doing great pay-per-view numbers compared to like weekly TV for AEW, like Collision and Rampage, Collision and Dynamite.
Yeah.
And
It's going to get better.
yeah, it's only going to get better now because their exposure has just gone way the fuck up.
Yep.
And the fact is that I look at AEW and I look at what their thought process is. I look at their entire roster, their entire main event scene, the people that are challenging for the championships is Cope, who's in his 50s. And then there's Christian, who has a contract to cash in at some point for the championship, who again is in his 50s. And this is the direction that they are in, the direction of everybody that is in their main event scene is older. There's no young guys on the horizon because all the young guys. Because you look at Swerve Strickland, the last pay per view, he got beat by Bobby Lashley. He got squashed by Lashley,
Yeah.
and Lashley is. And now instead of Swerve getting a win back, Swerve's dealing with fucking Ricochet. And the way that they're booking Ricochet tells me that Swerve Strickland might be losing to Ricochet. After Swerve Strickland has already lost again earlier, I think the last big pay-per-view match he had was against Adam Page. It's maddening. It's maddening because I think because Swerve Strickland a year ago was like all in with this fucking guy. They need to make him champion now. And they waited too long. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, Bryan Danielson's retiring, so we got to put the title on him before he leaves, even though he never wanted the championship, really. But that was your whole thing at All In. It's like, is it career versus championship? Great match, of course, even though Danielson probably shouldn't have been in there because of the fact that once you are losing strength in your arm, in my opinion, you should not be wrestling anymore. You're done. Unless you get it fixed.
Listen. Why is it that WWE is not clearing guys or girls for that matter?
But they're terrible people if they don't clear them.
Right, and then
they're
they're
awful.
terrible people. But then you go here and you have people that are cleared, like him, Daniel McDanielson, and like Saraya. And Saraya, to her credit, I feel like, okay, maybe you could have gotten cleared, right? Or maybe it just came because she was not initially cleared, from my understanding, when she initially got signed with them. But she's put on some good matches. Have they been great? No, but they've been very good.
Can't take a suplex.
Yeah,
at all.
Still can't.
You
take
cannot
suplex.
do. She cannot take. You cannot do anything from behind. Like, so if you German suplexes are out.
Listen, she's still very clunky in the ring since the injuries.
She's not the same performer.
Yeah, she's
but
not Paige. She's
no.
just not. But
Still love her.
She can still go in the ring. It's just there are certain things she can't do. She's limited. But she has found a way, I feel like, to work with the talent to still put on good matches. But there are times, because of the fact of her limitations, she does look a little bit clunky. I will still give Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, or whatever the fuck his name is, Daniel McDanielson, credit. Because again, like, I feel like he has been good. He did have that great match when he came over with Kenny Omega. He has had great matches with other talent. But to your point, it's like he does not know when to stop. And that's been proven. It has been. And I get it. I get some of these people still have that drive. And I know the next comment for a lot of people, there you go, what about Cope? You know what? Let him do what the fuck he wants. Because, first of all, the guy can still go.
Yep.
And second of all, he lost 9 fucking years because of his back. Let him do whatever the fuck he wants.
I don't care. Like,
And I'm sorry, I'm waiting for one more fucking program with Christian Cage, and then he can ride off to the sunset, and I'm good. Just saying.
Yeah, the Cope stuff doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me either, but I just know there is that section of fans that are like, what about Cope?
Doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother me either.
Like, Cope is one of those things. It's like, if he got paid a lot of money to go there, great. Because it's like it was like it. I also felt like it was a trade.
It was, but here's what I'm gonna say though. I just, the reason I bring up Cope in the conversation is because I know people look at him the same way as Saraya and Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, because I just know there is. But again, Cope lost 9 fucking years. He came back. He was still able to produce at a high level, and he proved that when he went back to WWE in the 2020s. He did that. So, and then the flip side is like, oh, look what he did since we went to AEW. Yeah, dude took a bad dive off the top of a cage.
Broke his leg.
broke his ankle or whatever. Yeah, is that on him? Yeah, to a certain degree.
Stupid.
But he came back, and
He did.
we'll see how he does when he comes back. But I just feel that between the three of them that we just talked about, I feel pretty strongly that out of the three of them, he knows his limits more than the other two. And it was never a problem with him getting cleared when he came back.
No,
So
it wasn't.
I just feel it's a different situation. So not sorry if you feel differently, but yeah.
What about Edge or Copeland?
Well, not you. I meaning the listeners.
No. Because I agree with you 100% about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the listeners.
Yeah, it's just I look at MJF because he's now in a program with Jeff Jarrett, and it's just like, are you what? Who?
Yeah.
Like it's just.
Yeah.
And then last night, the comment he made, two of them that were, first of all, the Karen one was like, oh, of course. Why not? Of course, this has to. Of course, you have to go with. Oh, you can taste the nuts of a generational talent and an Olympic gold medalist. It was that, and then of course the other one was every time that you see Jeff Jarrett, your promotion is on a death spiral, which rubbed a lot of people wrong way, I guess, backstage in the company.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Meltzer also mentioned it. It was just like, that's not something I would say just because of the perception of what's been wrong with AEW recently. And then MJF saying that, which MJF also probably might understand and he's smart enough to know that his brand has taken a massive hit since he re-signed with AEW.
Oh, I'm sure he regrets it at this point.
Oh, I do, which I think that's why that comment might have been made, because he may have just said, but does he care because he thinks that he's going to be able? But the problem is that now it is affecting his next contract because of the fact that his power, his drawing power, and all that stuff is now considerably lower, and his leverage is lower than what it was 2 years ago. And that,
I don't think that's his fault, though. I don't think the injuries helped, but I also don't think it's his fault.
the injuries, no, I'm not going to blame him for the injuries. But I do feel like with his character development, he has regressed.
But again, is that him?
severely.
Is that him is the question, and that's where I'm not 100% sure.
I think, well, some of his promos, because again, it's just the promos that, except the line about how you kill companies, that was funny, but the problem is it went over the line too much too, or it's just like, that was a bit, the Karen thing, it's another cheap hate comment for him of just like, which he does, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't, like with the CM Punk stuff, where that told a story. His promos told a story. It told everything that was going on between the both of them. But now
I also
it's not
think
like
you
that.
have a guy like Punk that can give and take on the mic anyways, especially with a guy like fucking MJF. I think that's very different. Jeff Jarrett's very, like, I hate to say it, but cookie cutter.
Yes.
Right? He's going to say what he's going to say, and then that's it. He's probably not going to deviate.
The Owen Hart line, too, I remember he said last night, too.
Yeah, that was not good. I get it. Like, MJF is very, oh man, I can't think of the word, but basically he's able to ad-lib, right?
Yes.
Where I don't think that's Jeff Jarrett. And there's a lot of guys in the company, it's the same thing. They cannot pivot. They don't ad-lib. There's no, going off script or whatever. It's just they work on what they're going to write. They write it, and then they speak it. And then that's it. That's the methodology. And we've heard guys like CM Punk talk about The Rock years and years and years ago and say that's exactly how The Rock was. They wrote out a script, they talked about it, and then that was it. And that's not what CM Punk did. He made that very clear in that interview. Like I said, this is years ago. And I think that's Jeff Jarrett to a T. That old school, I'm going to write out what I'm going to say, I'm going to say it, that's it. Whereas MJF can have a couple of thoughts in his head and go out and string them together. Which is fine.
A lot of guys can do bullet points.
Exactly.
MJF can do bullet points,
Exactly.
and then you have CM Punk that's able to do bullet points.
But the problem is with MJF currently doing it, there's no oversight. So some of the stuff that he said yesterday probably shouldn't have been fucking said.
Well, the big one was, well, the Owen Hart thing, no, because of the relationship that Owen Hart.
That's exactly what I said. No. Yep.
So it's just like you're jeopardizing two relationships, and then two, of course, with the Death Spiral one, because again, the perception right now in AEW is that they are in a death spiral. That is because.
But there's three, Dan.
Cold.
There's three.
They are cold.
They are a bit. There's three, right? There's three avenues you could take this death spiral from it. That's one of them. The other one is Owen Hart because of what went down, and as you said, that also kills the relationship with commentary about that with the whole Martha Stewart situation that they have going on, and on top of that, what happened this week? You want to talk about a death spiral that Jeff Jarrett might have caused? TNA and WWE are now partnering.
I know.
It's like you hit all these fucking bullet points about death spirals, and I have to clarify them for everybody because it's so factual of what's going on between AEW, WWE, and TNA, and then the fact that you just mentioned it, the relationship that Jeff had with Owen, that their company has with Owen's widow. It's just like I don't think I would ever use that term on their television ever again. Especially to Jeff Jarrett.
Jeff Jarrett, even being put in a storyline where he's chasing a championship before he retires, is so not necessary, and also because Jeff Jarrett is not a Jeff Jarrett.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What is WWE doing right now?
Well, they're doing it with Cena, but Cena is a much bigger star.
I'll give you that.
Much bigger star.
I will give you that.
And the fact that it's just we're talking about Jeff Jarrett here.
No, we're talking about AEW, actually.
We're talking about AEW, yes, but we're also like, it's just because it just makes Jeff Jarrett as the AEW World Champion. That does not make anybody that's a fan of AEW sit there and say, yeah, I want that. Nobody wants that. Yeah! There's a good portion, though, because of the fact that there's a lot of kids in their 20s and maybe in their 30s that are rooting for John Cena to win the championship at WrestleMania because that's who they grew up with. And that, look, and I think Mac and I both had that with The Undertaker for so many years as well. So it's just that.
Hey man, he kept winning at WrestleMania. I didn't care about the titles as much anymore.
That's true. I still wanted him to get better reigns, but
same.
But we have. It's the same thing with Austin. We didn't have Austin for as long as we wanted. We got shafted with.
Wow, we're just going completely back to Owen Hart again with that comment.
Well, I'm just no. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck you.
Because I'm not booked.
Maybe not. Maybe go fuck shit. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Yeah, no, you're right though. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Jeff Jarrett is a bad talent. That's not the case.
No, he's not.
But he is much older at this point. You know, I know I made the Cena comparison because of what's going on with John Cena in WWE, but you know, we're talking what, a 10-year difference between the two in age, And listen, like they both have had great careers. Obviously, Cena has been a bigger star, has been a multi-time world champion. I know Jeff has too, but not to Cena's extent. I feel like.
Well, he did book himself as champion as well. So.
There's that too. There is that too. But I don't know. Like, it's not engaging for me. And to go back to that about engaging television, especially with WWE and now TNA and that partnership, and with AEW currently, and obviously we talked about Ring of Honor too as part of AEW's analog, whatever you want to call it, programming. Let me ask you a question. Having said what I just said, right? And talking about some of these older storylines, because we're talking about Jeff Jarrett too. Wouldn't it just make sense to go back to something tried and true? Not so much from AEW standpoint, from just wrestling history. You do this almost yearly, depending. You did it for a few years, let's say it that way, in WWE with Survivor Series. You did SmackDown versus Raw. You also had the Invasion arc in the early 2000s. So I think you know where I'm probably going with this. But why not, if you're Tony, why not just do that? Have Ring of Honor and AEW and just do an Invasion angle. Because you own both, just like Vince owned I almost said AEW, WWE, WCW, and ECW.
He's already done Invasion angles. He did one with the Elites, and now he's doing one currently with the Death Riders.
Nobody gives a fuck about that, though. It's barely an Invasion arc. I mean, with Ring of Honor.
Exactly. Nobody gives a shit.
That's the
but
problem.
He doesn't think. I don't even think he's booking this. I think Moxley is, and I'm just like, oh my God. It's like literally this is his bloodline storyline, and it fucking sucks. Because it has nothing, like, the talent that's involved. Claudio, okay. Neville, if you had 6 inches more, maybe. But, like, Marina Shafir and fucking Wheeler Yuta are not stars. Marina Shafir especially, it's like that promo she cut, fucking just Google Dave Lynch. And, because, of course, it's great David Lynch. Just Google David Lynch, Marina Shafir. You'll understand what I'm talking about. But these people are in the top angle now, which is focusing on the world championship. But what's it done? Like, has it done anything to draw interest for AEW? Has it done anything to draw interest? No, it hasn't. Because even their diehards are like, this is fucking stupid. I'm talking diehards, like, there's a lot of media people. Steve Larson, like Brian Zane, that since this company has incepted, they have been on the bandwagon of, which I get and I understand.
Okay, so let me cut you off for a second. Because we're talking about all this, and I'm thinking about the ratings now. Because to your point, this isn't doing anything for their bottom line.
No.
Okay. So I'm going to read what the ratings are, and then I'm going to read the title of this page. This is from Cage Side Seats. This was apparently written like a couple hours ago, ironically enough. But TV ratings and viewership data for this week's Maximum Carnage episode of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Per WrestleNomics, Dynamite netted 679,000 viewers and a .18 rating for the 18 and 19 demo. These numbers are up from 615 and .17 respectively, and do not count any viewership for the simulcast on Max. Dynamite finished higher in cable ratings than everything outside of NBA and politics. Yeah, because it's the only thing on television on a Wednesday.
Right.
I'm not going to go through the rest, but you get the gist. It's about 60 and change, 60,000 more. So, okay, great. Your demo change is 0.01. But here's just, I just want to clarify this. Because again, I said I'm going to say the ratings. Do you want to know what the title of this page is?
What?
Just take a guess. You're going to be wrong. It's fine. It's a fun little game. Just try to guess. It's going to be about a segment. So pick a segment. Pick what you think.
Piper's Pit. I don't know.
No, God no. That would have been great.
That would have been. What is it?
Piper's Pit. Oh man, are you ready for this?
What?
Here is the subject of this page. All right, and I googled this, just AEW ratings, and this is one of the first pages that pops up. Cage side seats again. Okay. The subject of this specific article or page is MJF and Jeff Jarrett argue about Kurt Angle's balls. AEW ratings go up. The subtext is, oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Oh my God, that's funny. It's true.
It's damn true.
It's true. It was such a low hanging fruit comment that I'm like, that was clever, but 10 or 15 years ago, clever.
Can I say one more thing just real quick? Because
Yeah.
it popped in my head. It pops into my head every year for Maximum Carnage. Can we just give fucking Maximum Carnage back to Marvel, please?
No shit.
And just let's just do that, please. I don't.
Talk about a tremendous marketing campaign for a video game too. That was done well.
That game ruled.
That was LJN too, right?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Holy shit. A good LJN game.
That game fucking ruled, man.
It did. It did. It was really ahead of its time as far as a great side scrolling beat 'em up, but also to have it entangled with the comic book, also the dual characters.
Oh, man.
You're
So,
able to play as Venom and Spider-Man.
Yep. I can't wait for the new Spider-Man game whenever it comes out. Probably the next couple of years, obviously. But they'll probably feature Carnage as the
PlayStation 6, yeah.
villain. Yeah, PlayStation 6 probably. All right, so just part of the reason I chuckled before I said anything about what I just said is I also went to Bleacher Report. The Bleacher Report has not usually the ratings, but they recap and they score each segment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and again, you liken this to a pay-per-view or PLE almost in some of these cases when they have name shows.
Right.
NXT does it with New Year's Evil, with Halloween Havoc. So I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands the stakes to some of these name shows. And I'm looking at some of the matches. I see A's, I see B's. I see a C in here for Hurt Syndicate versus Private Party and Matt Briscoe. Whatever, I don't really care. Then I get to number 4 of 8 here. This one is MJF angers Jeff Jarrett by insulting Owen Hart. And obviously there's more context here. I talked about Kurt Angle just a second ago. All that kind of stuff. I'm going to read... Where is it? I just lost it. I think... Oh, here it is. Overall, it just went too long. Jarrett did not deliver a single effective line while MJF was about 20 to 80 in his effective verbal jabs, In concept, this is a good idea, showing Jeff could match MJF dirtiest heel tactics. But the only memorable moment is when the salt of the earth got under his rattle's skin with insulting Owen Hart and mentioning Kurt Angle. Grade F.
Wow. Wow.
So they graded this an F. They have bullet points for notable moments. I'm not going to read through those. I think everybody is going to look at this segment at this point on social media, whether it be YouTube or whatever else. But so far, from what I'm seeing and I'm scrolling down further after, this was the worst segment of the night as graded by Bleacher Report.
That is surprising because Bleacher Report usually has been very favorable to AEW, especially in recent years, especially when they started up.
They gave the show an overall B-.
Ugh.
And if I go down to the overall, just where it kind of recaps everything, it clarifies it again. The real downer for the night was MJF and Jeff Jarrett taking up time that could have gone to the women casino gauntlet. They added an unnecessary overlong coda to last week's encounter.
Yes.
So yeah, it is graded on Bleacher Report the worst segment of the evening.
They also had a segment with Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. So they pretty much put back the Undisputed Era from WWE, but Adam Cole really isn't doing anything right now because he's not feuding with MJF.
So
he's
they-
not challenging for the championship. It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
They
great.
don't grade it because it's a pre-tape promo they get
No,
apparently. So I guess they didn't grade that separately, which is fair, right? They lumped it in with Christian Cage versus Hook is where they lumped that in.
oh great. Yeah.
But it's a noble moment because again, and I understand why it's pre-tape promo. It's not like they're out there and doing stuff like that.
Right.
I don't even think, yeah, they didn't grade the Ricochet promo and stuff either. So
That was
probably
one of the best moments of the night was
There we
Prince Nana hitting him with a chair.
Yeah, they put this in with. Okay, no, I'm sorry. They do grade it separately. I'm sorry. There was I don't know why because I guess it skipped over it because the way they have the picture and the hyperlink to the video. But Swerve runs Ricochet out of the arena. That got a B plus.
It should have. Just because when Prince Nana hit him with a chair and then immediately did the fucking dance right afterwards. Like that should have been an A+ segment. The minute that he hit him with a chair and then started the new Nana dance, I was just like, yep, that's exactly how that should have went. Because fuck Ricochet.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
Oh, I know.
Like
you do.
he's one of those guys that thinks again, even though that might have been his plan the whole time, it's just like I'm gonna say all these things. I'm gonna make people believe that that I'm just this piece of shit like heel. Like that I think all this and I'm just oblivious, but I'm actually not. Now, the way you've handled yourself on social media proves to me you're a mark for yourself and you're dumb as fuck. That's what it proves to me. You're in the category of like a Hangman Page of just somebody that's just a complete moron that has no concept for the wrestling industry except, I'm one of the better performers in the ring. Yeah, you can't cut a fucking promo.
Yeah.
Like you are terrible on the mic. One of the worst.
Yep.
But again, everybody's just like, oh, you can have a great match. Will Ospreay is a better fucking promo and blows him away in the ring. Just blows him away. Kenny Omega's better and can cut a great fucking promo. Kyle Fletcher's a better performer and he'll get there. But I think he's fucking better than Ricochet. Fuck. Oh, he's so bad. Oh, God. Oh.
All right. I think we've talked a lot about AEW, talked a little bit about WWE, and I want to go back to WWE to kind of close it out because seems like there is some drama with one of their ring announcers or play-by-play color analysts, if you will. So I'm a little surprised by this, obviously, but it can't be understated that Corey Graves has been making some waves on social media lately. And apparently his brother has too, by furthering vague commentary.
It's not at work.
It's not at work.
Well, here's my thought.
So hold on, before you get into your thought real quick, I want to make sure I say this too. Apparently he was supposed to be at NXT this week.
No.
And apparently once things kind of start to progress, he was not at NXT anymore,
Right.
despite initial reports that he would be. And I don't know who put this narrative out there, whether it was him or WWE, but there was some comment out there that I saw that on NXT he's going to clear everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not there.
It's been reported, even though probably not, like it's probably not factual because considering who has reported it, but Meltzer reported that he believes that Corey that they believe inside WWE, at least they told him that he's trying to get himself fired. which, if he is or isn't, I think he's still being ridiculous in his. If this isn't an angle, which I don't think it is, honestly, the way he was talking, he sounded like somebody that just,
Sounds
every
like a bitter
time
ex-girlfriend, honestly.
he sounds like a bitter ex-girlfriend, but also he sounded like Christopher Moltisanti when he didn't become a made guy. Like,
Oh, shit.
you got passed over, and I understand that pitch. It's like Ralph Cifaretto not getting the captain position at first. He feels passed over. He's pissed off because he feels that he is talented enough, and he was behind that company doing some really lean years. There were a lot of guys that were in that position that were behind that company, and a lot of lean years that are not bearing the fruits of the labor that they did during those lean years. And they have to take a step back. And I understand that's frustrating. I've never been in the position that Corey Graves is in. I have been in FM radio, so I can tell you that there is a bit of paranoia. I saw the interns, right? The interns would come in, and I could just tell which ones were hungry and which ones they could give a shit. I'd always worry about the hungry ones because I always felt like they're coming for my spot. And it's just that internal kind of clock that I had. And the reason why I thought that was because of the fact that I was one of those hungry interns, and I was looking at the rest of the DJs and thinking, I'm coming for your spot. And that's why I know.
Yeah.
So at least I could sit there with Corey and I could at least sympathize with his situation a little bit, except I can't. Because when I saw what he wrote, I was on my way getting dressed at 6:30 in the morning to get on the bus and go to work for a 7 o'clock job. To get in for 7 in the morning. I'm up at the ass crack of dawn. The moon is still out, shining down as I'm reading this bullshit from Corey. And I just think to myself, shut the fuck up. From several perspectives. One, you have people in Los Angeles right now that just lost their homes and their lives and everything, their family history, homes, money, personal items, everything. And you're complaining about not being on Monday or Friday nights. I'm only on Tuesdays. I'm still on national TV. They didn't cut down my pay.
Exactly.
They're just moving me somewhere else. It is so entitled. And I hate using that phrase because it's thrown around now like it's fucking candy. I hate it.
I got a better one for you. So Dan knows about a little about what's going on with my current job, which I vehemently do not discuss on here. Because first of all, it's almost a little bit disingenuous at times. I also want to have that separation, and truthfully, it's why I don't show my fucking face, because I want to be having that separation. I also enjoy my fucking privacy, but that's besides the point. Really, it comes down to my career and my job, which I'm just going to say is definitely not what Corey Graves has. It is way less than what Corey Graves has. But at the same token, that's far different. I'm not in front of cameras. I don't have, I was going to say I don't have a podcast, but I do. But I don't have the one that Corey Graves has, where he is able to have WWE superstars on whenever the fuck he wants because he works there. I don't have that. I do not have an 11 for a wife. Like, I don't have any of the things that Corey Graves has. I'm just going to say it that way. At the same token, though, again, going back to my own personal experiences, especially lately with my current job and my current career, and how that has, I guess, changed over the last 5 years and continues to change. I've taken a lot of what is happening, especially right now with my current job, as I said, in stride. I'm not thrilled with some of the changes that are taking place, but I know there's an end game. And I know the end game is really, for me, to kind of progress my career and be able to manifest that myself. And I'm taking it as a challenge to do so. I don't see anything that's happening as a demotion in my current role. And it's not anyways, but still, perception is everything sometimes. And Corey needs to do the same thing. Corey cannot view this as a demotion. He needs to see this as, I need to manifest my destiny, and if my destiny needs to be manifested by going back and working with Booker T in NXT as the third chair or second and a half chair, whatever you want to call it, then that is exactly what Corey Graves should do. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not a fucking life coach, but holy shit, Corey. Like, you could look at this in so many different ways and look at it as a positive versus a negative, despite how you feel. You could view it as a challenge to go back, be super effective, and let's be real. Is McAfee going to be there all year?
No.
I doubt
He's not
it.
even going to be on. He's not even going to be on Raw this Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like.
So is
Okay.
Corey back? Like,
Oh,
dude,
he's going to get. Oh, I don't want to be a fill-in. Shut the fuck up.
but
like,
dude, you're
look,
collecting the same paycheck. And
The
you make
money's
more money
not
than me.
changing. The money is not changing. And on top of that, you have to fucking realize, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and think to yourself, Pat McAfee, you can say, I understand from the perspective, well, I'm a better wrestling announcer than Pat McAfee is. Fine! I get you are. I'm a better wrestling announcer than Pat McAfee is. I can say that because of the fact that I've been watching this shit for so long. McAfee knows a lot of shit about the NFL too. I do too. But at the same time, he's a much better personality than I am.
You know what it is?
And sorry to say, Corey, he's a better personality than you are.
That's
the kids like him.
It's the personality for me. It's the emotional affect. McAfee gets into it. Corey, whenever he gets into it, it doesn't feel the same.
He's a student of the game, which is not a bad thing.
It's not, but it's
not a bad thing. I'm a student of the game as well. That's the way I try to be able to be expressive and express myself. I do it here on this program. I've done it more times than not. People know that when I get going, I get going.
Yeah.
And I could have a personality.
We both do. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
But with Corey, it's like when he gets going, it doesn't come across the same as when Pat McAfee gets going. And dude, I'm sorry, but it's hilarious to see him and Michael Cole get up on the table and start, quote unquote, yeeting all over each other.
Exactly. It's funny.
Yeet!
It's hilarious. They have great chemistry together.
They do, and that's the thing.
You know, Michael Cole finally found his Bobby Heenan. It took him years.
Yeah.
He had it with Taz, though. He did have it with Taz. Taz, he had a good relationship with.
He had a great relationship with Taz, but when Taz left, it was left lacking. And before
JBL, he had a good relationship with.
That's true, too. JBL was good. That's
JBL
true.
was excellent. I just think that, and Corey did a great job with him as well. It just didn't fit, though. It fit with McAfee. And Corey has to realize that. This is not a demotion. You're still hired. You still have a fucking job.
Yeah.
Why do you want to go to AEW? Do you think the grass is going to be greener over there and have to work with the people they have over there?
Fifth chair over there or something like that?
Exactly. Do you think they're going to take out Tony Schiavone, or they're going to be like, well, they're going to hire, oh, well, it's me or Excalibur. Fuck you. We're going to keep Excalibur.
Excalibur's funny.
Because I hate to say this, Corey, and this is going to drive you crazy. And it's probably going to drive a lot of people crazy about what I'm about to say. But it's the fucking truth. And again, it's how I feel.
Just say it.
Excalibur is better than Corey Graves.
I
It's the truth.
hate you.
Don't fucking fact check me.
I hate you.
Because I'm right.
Yeah, actually. Listen, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, here's the problem, right? Excalibur comes in with emotion too. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Corey Graves has no emotions. Obviously, he does.
And Excalibur is a student of the game.
Exactly. But it's how they say the matches. And listen, I'll say it this way, right? And it's such an impactful statement for me because I know that for so long he's the color guy. With Cole, he's the color guy.
Yes.
With Wade Barrett, he's not.
He's the lead.
He's the lead.
And it's tough.
Right, but it worked.
It did.
It did. And
at first it didn't, but he was able to turn it around with him.
He was. It was weird at first because you're used to him being the heel color guy. And then after like 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks or so, the two of them hit their stride and it ended up working.
Yes.
Which is a step for Mr. Corey Graves.
And he's probably pissed because maybe he's not pissed about McAfee. Maybe he's pissed about Joe Tessitore, but it's just like, again.
I doubt it. He's
it's
probably
like,
pissed, but not so much about Tess, because I think he can recognize the talent and what Joe Tess can bring. But then he looks at fucking, I have to say it this way because I'm just talking as I'm talking as Corey Graves, but douchebag Pat McAfee. That's how he probably views it. Like, this fucking guy. You know? But it balances itself out because at the end of the day, you have the play-by-play, if you will, of Michael Cole and Joe Test, and they're impartial guys, right?
I just had an intrusive thought, so I got to tell you this.
Oh, God.
So, fucking the first day that he shows up at AEW, Corey Graves gets hired. Hey, everybody. Morrissey just standing there. And just fucking takes his head off. Like, okay, we're good. All right. Just need to get that out of the way. Thank you. See ya.
But what I was going to say, though, is you have impartial play-by-play with Michael Cole and Joe Test. You have one face commentator with Pat McAfee. You have one heel commentator with Wade Barrett. At that point, what are you going to do? Go back to 3 chairs? It hasn't worked for them.
3 chairs is just in wrestling is so tough.
It's not that it's tough. I think you can do it in NXT because fucking, whatever the hell Booker T is saying half the time.
Ducky quack quack.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. For whatever reason, it wasn't computing in my head.
They have to bring him wherever Trick Williams go. Though they have to bring Booker T over with Trick Williams because whenever Trick Williams comes out, that he makes that entrance so much better because he's just replying to the music, which just makes the presentation that much better.
So let me ask you a question, actually. As we're talking about commentators and 3rd chairs, and you mentioned Pat McAfee is not going to be on Raw this week. You mentioned that it would have been perfect for Corey Graves to kind of make some kind of a comeback on Monday Night Raw for this week, right? Mm-hmm. Without Pat McAfee being there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's a little ironic or telling or maybe even just a tad bit convenient that they announced that JBL is going to be at Raw this week?
Yeah, isn't that fun?
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder why.
Yeah, maybe as like a commentator.
I actually, so JBL is coming to the area for a signing. Actually, Steph bought me tickets to a meet and greet to meet Mick Foley for my birthday last year,
Nice.
which has been put off till June
Oh, well,
of this year.
whatever.
So I've had to wait over a year. And so the same day that Mick Foley is going to be at the signing, JBL is also going to be there. And I don't usually ask for inscriptions on things, but I am inclined that I need to ask him, sir, can you please wait for the pay-per-view? It's good business. I'm begging you.
Dude,
This will fulfill the prophecy.
Even if he puts, it's just good business.
It's
I
like
don't need the
I'm in
whole
such
phrase.
high regard.
Yeah, I don't need the whole phrase. I just need, it's just good business.
It's just good
That's all I
business.
need.
I just need that. Yeah, because I have the JBL figure I actually have is him in like the red, white, and blue vest.
Nice.
It's perfect to get signed. So it's like, but I'm like, I have to ask him. It's good business. Please put that as a description, sir.
So we didn't talk about this, but speaking of JBL, apparently recently it was 20-year anniversary of when he kicked that Mexican back over the border. Apparently there's a picture of him and the guy recently too, like to mark the 20th anniversary. I've never loved JBL as much as I've loved him recently. Just some of this stuff when he comes back is just so hilarious.
He's actually been doing. He's been standing in for Bruce Pritchard on. It's always something to wrestle with Conrad Thompson. Save with Conrad.com. Conrad Thompson.
Conrad.
The one of the luckiest wrestling fans on the planet of just like huge Ric Flair fan marries his daughter. It's like, how the fuck did this happen?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, it's so amazing that and also was able to convince him, hey, yeah, let's do a retirement match. It's like, really? How did this happen? Holy shit, you made that much money for this? What? Like that drew he made like $500,000 on that match. I still can't believe that. One of the highest grossing independent wrestling matches at events ever was him booking Ric Flair's retirement match. Oh, it was a sham.
It was.
Oh, it was one of the, I still can't believe people paid money for that. Like, you see Taker there in the front row with, like, Bret Hart, and it's just like, they're all just looking at it. They're just like, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever been associated with. Why did I come?
Ironically enough, another thing that was a Jeff Jarrett, imposium, as it were.
I was involved in that. Yeah, we know, Jeff. I don't think you should tell people that, but I know.
Because I'm not booked.
Yeah, but JBL has really kind of recently kind of turned a corner, I think, for some people. Even though I've always liked him.
I've always liked JBL.
It's like, even as that character, even was he was such a ruthless heel, I was just like, I love this guy. He's great.
They had such a shortage of good heels at that time.
Oh, they did.
And, some of the feuds that he had, because it was funny, man. Like, I'm sorry. Like, the feud that he had with Eddie was funny. Even some of the stuff that he did with Cena was funny. And you know how I felt about Cena back then. So, of course, any heel against Cena, I'm going to be rooting for them. But the fact that it was, like, basically fresh off of the feud with Eddie Guerrero, I was like, man, love me some JBL. I just did. And when he kind of incorporated it with, like, stuff that he would do with Ron Simmons, with the APA and stuff like that, like, because he would do that after that too. After he was JBL, he'd kind of go back and forth between being in the APA and being JBL when he'd come back to television every so often. And it's like, shit, man. Like, how could I hate this guy?
Every time I see that clip, it's The Rock. The Rock just goes in and sees them, and they just both look at him, and they're just like,
Use the door.
Rock's just like, what? He's like, you got to use the door. He's like, what fucking door?
Then they
Oh, that door.
Yep.
And then he's just like, Rock, how you been?
Yeah, and when we say that, just in case anybody doesn't remember that segment, there was no walls.
No, there's no walls. It was just a door.
Yeah, it was just a door
he just
in the middle
thought,
of the hallway.
He just thought he could just walk right in and there was no problem. Like, oh, he could just talk business with him. They're just like, no, use the door. And he's just like, what door?
The door. He sees it, goes over, knocks, lets himself in. Rock, hey! Oh, man.
It's like, it's just stuff like that. Where and it's when people got mad, I was just like, oh, we're gonna make him world champion. I'm mad about this. It's like, why? Who cares?
But you know what it
Like,
was?
who cares?
Too? Yeah, dude, I didn't care. I thought it was hilarious. But
I did too.
You know
like
what
when he
it
fought
was?
Godzilla, that was hilarious.
So funny. But you know what it was too for me, man? Like liking JBL, and I know it's gonna sound kind of kinchy compared to like stuff now, but it was the time period. And the stock market bell, the like overly like rich Texas theme, and then he comes out in a limo with the bullhorns on the front.
Oh God!
And then he comes out like he just like came out of like the gym and stuff sometimes, or he'd come out in the suit sometimes, stuff like that. But dude, it's just like you couldn't help but laugh. It's like this rich, Texas douchebag that got money in the stock market. And I'm not trying to profile by saying that. It's just like, this is how you are made to feel about this character. And I know some people hated it, but I just thought it was hilarious. I did. Was I in love with it? No. But I thought the character and the concept of the character and how they portrayed the character was hilarious. And coming off of a serious role of being in the Acolytes is just fucking even funnier. This dude has like long ass hair, that mustache, he's wrecking house on people, and then all of a sudden he is repackaged into this rich, stock market Texan douchebag who is almightier than thou. It's just a complete shift. And man, he pulls it off so well. He just did.
He was such a dick.
He was.
I loved it.
It was hilarious.
I loved every fucking second of
did
it.
too.
Because it's just like he was such a dick. And I'm just like, because at the same time, I think George W. Bush was president, so it was like, he reminded me of George W. Bush.
I think you're right.
So I was just like, fuck it. He could be a better president than Bush at this point. Like, fuck, I don't mind. Like, it was really a perfect character. Because it was funny because everybody would just be like, oh, he sucks. It's like, no, he's fucking hilarious. You just don't understand.
That's why I would say it too. Because I remember some people in our group of friends, and might have been this guy too, I can't remember.
Ooh, red.
But
No, he's turned the corner.
I know he has recently, but I can't remember back then is what I'm saying. But my point is, it's like, if anybody was saying that to me, oh, JBL sucks, and I'm like, are you even watching? Like, are you watching what's happened on television at all? Like, forget his matches. Like, his matches were not the best matches. Let's be real. He was late in his
Oh,
career.
God, he is going to cry like a baby when Cena retires. I just thought about that.
Oh, my God, absolutely. He
He's
absolutely. But man, like, he was late in his career.
Dad, why are you crying?
It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. Like, dude, like, he was in his career. He could have done whatever the fuck he wanted. It was not that funny. Holy shit.
It's just the visual of just him crying, doing the fucking "you can't see me" fucking. And the kid,
I mean, I
kid
guess.
walking into the room and just asking why his father is boiled up in a corner, crying like a baby, just doing this to his hands.
Is this your shaving shit
It's
moment or
just-
something?
It really is like the metaphor. I'm looking at it.
I know. Yeah, I know. That's why I used it. But holy shit. Okay. Oh man, I'm not going to explain that reference right now.
No. 3 people will understand it.
Yeah.
Boo ran.
Anyways. Inside college joke, by the way, guys. Or girls. But yeah, dude, if anybody was sleeping on JBL back then, you just weren't watching the TV on a regular basis. You know?
No.
You just weren't. He was so fucking funny. Like I said, that Mexican immigrant segment, I will never forget that segment ever.
It's so
It's hilarious.
It would actually work now. JBL
Oh my
actually
God,
came
it
back
would.
now. They'd be like, "Well, let's do it again. Fuck it." Like we just repackage them, and they'd just come back and just
they
be like,
get so much shit on social media for that though.
But it would work.
It
would work.
Oh my God.
Like no one would get mad. Like to that extent of like it would, because now I think it would work. It would work because of the climate that we're about to be in. Because honestly, there's so many people that are just tired of everybody being mad about everything and everybody being offended by everything. So it might actually be able to work now because people would just like,
Oh
I'm
my
tired
God.
of complaining about
Oh
this.
my God, I just got a funny thought.
What?
So wouldn't it be hilarious if, since we're talking about JBL, if he comes back and he starts hanging out with American Made?
Actually, I would book a segment of him with like LWO and like the LWO.
But hold on, hear me out. That's next. That's next.
Yeah, okay.
JBL is with American Made, and they have a segment with LWO. Oh my God. I'm like dying right now. That would be hilarious.
JPL's just like, I was playing a character.
Listen, Hunter. I'm sorry. We have ideas. Just call us.
We do.
Because now my thought is, on top of this, now you're just going to get Penta over by inserting him into the situation.
Oh God! I love watching and hearing people talk about like, wow, they actually made Penta more relevant in one night.
You know what's hilarious is I've heard so many divergent comments about his debut. I heard people that love it. I heard people that are like, "Oh, they watered him down."
No,
Listen,
I've seen the majority of the people have been
receptive. I've seen the majority too for that, but I've also seen them where like they watered him down. That's not truly Penta.
No,
and it's like, dude, like I saw that comment the other day. I think it was Tuesday morning. I started to see some of those comments, and I'm just like, are you serious? Like, how about you just enjoy it? Like, this is day one. Day one.
Nobody can enjoy anything anymore.
I know. It's like dude, how about you just see what happens? It's just like
let it cook.
Let it cook.
Let it happen. You know, and I loved it too with Meltzer and Alvarez. Immediately, we're just like, oh, they're already calling him the second greatest luchador of the world next to Rey Mysterio. It's like they're not even like Rey isn't even the top one. It's El Santo. It's just like only you fucking nerds are having this like complex about it. I said because they don't
Santos on TV.
They don't realize either that the majority of the mainstream wrestling audience don't even know who the fuck you're talking about.
That's the thing, man.
Like when they're talking to the WWE audience, they are talking to the WWE audience. They don't give a shit about some fucking nerd from San Jose that's sitting there and it's like, oh, and Santo's better. No one gives a shit, Dave. No one cares. You got to realize that. Get it through your head. You're in your 60s. No one cares. No one cares that El Santo, in your mind, is a bigger luchador than Rey Mysterio or Penta? Who gives a shit?
He's. You know what it is? It's not even what you just said about, in WWE or between him and Ray or whatever else, but it's like, not everybody has this, like, long wrestling mind that, I'll argue you, but obviously Dave Meltzer has. Like, some people are not watching fucking, like, MLL. Some people are not watching Penta versus Io Sky from a few years ago, or Chelsea Green, or whoever else intergender matches he had. But it's like, who fucking cares? You could make the argument for Ray Sr. You could make the argument for Eddie Guerrero, obviously, as well. You can make the argument for a lot of fucking people. You can make the argument, like, Santos Escobar, for Dragon Lee. I'm not going to put freaking Dominic Mysterio in that category, but some people might. There's so many luchadors out there. Who fucking cares how fucking Michael Cole makes an offhand comment to get people interested that don't know of his other fucking work?
I've never sat, okay, and maybe I used to get pissed off about, I think in 1997 I got mad because Lex Luger got Wrestler of the Year over The Undertaker because Lex Luger was champion for like 5 days compared to like 5 months for Taker. Okay? So that was why I was pissed off. But that was in 1997 when I was 14 fucking years old. Like, not one time have I sat there and I've just been like, this is absolute bullshit. I still look at it and for like 2 seconds and I either chuckle or I'm just like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just don't care.
I
don't care that they get ranked because ranking is so...
It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like,
they get a plaque. Cool.
Like, listen, but hold on. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, do you think Cody Rhodes gives a fuck if he's ranked number 1 of the year by fucking Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez?
Actually, I think he does care. I think if you... No, I don't think, even though he did make a joke about it one time.
Listen, if it was... Okay, listen. Let me rephrase that. No, you're good. Let me rephrase that. 5 years ago, I think Cody probably gave a shit. Now, do you think he gives a shit? I don't think so. Right? 4 years ago, even. Yeah, I made the argument Cody Rhodes probably cares. That's not now. I'm saying right now, 2025, looking back at 2024, do you think Cody Rhodes gives a shit if he's number 1? Probably not.
There was a joke on being the Elite one time when Cody Rhodes was on it with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. I think
he's got the magazine open and shit.
They were making fun of. I forget what wrestler they were making fun of, and Kenny looked at the guy and just said, "You're the type of guy that would post their PWI ranking in all their social media." And then Cody just was like, "Yeah, that's totally not cool." And then he just turned around real quick because he's probably done it. So
because he totally has.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it makes me chuckle. Now he probably doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Even though I think he does this year because of the fact that the readers poll, which again, the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the readers vote for it. 42% of the readers voted for Cody Rhodes as Wrestler of the Year, which is astounding.
Listen, I'm gonna say it this way. I know this was not even in the remote capacity of him going into 39-40 against Roman Reigns. This is prior to that I'm just going to say what it is because it's so impactful, even now, 3 years later, of that peck. That peck, to me, is like, okay, yep, you're the business.
Yes.
Like, as soon as that happened and that he was willing to wrestle in that a match that is brutal by nature, and is this the most brutal Hell in the Cell in the last 3 years? No. I think that honor goes to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
But
the risk he took was ridiculous.
Exactly. That's the biggest issue. And, oh yeah, you can't injure it anymore, so what's the big deal? Dude, the big deal is...
5-star classic.
Yeah. The big deal is like, okay, well, yeah, he can't injure his pec anymore, but maybe you need to look at the injury and the fact that he still did it, and that just because you can't injure anymore doesn't mean that
Balls of
shit-
steel.
Yeah, balls of steel. Doesn't mean it fucking probably didn't hurt though either. So I mean, ever since then, in his return and basically everything after Brock, anyways, it's fucking quality television. So, granted, again, that's 2023, 2022 going into 2023 and shit, but yeah, strong 2024 ever since he got that belt. I know people want to shit on it, but he has not had a bad match.
I think I think it's gonna be tough with the Cena thing. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough hill for him. I think though he'll be able to show his range if he decides to go into this and be like, "I'll be the heel." Like,
It's too soon. You could
that's the problem.
So hold on. I'm not done.
Hire us.
You have no. Well, yeah, definitely hire. Sorry. You have a very strong ability to turn him heel at the Royal Rumble. I will argue that. Because the thing with Kevin Owens is saying he is the hero and Cody is the villain. You can now further that. You have to make an argument here, though, that they can pull some bullshit. It is a ladder match. You are more than likely going to have to pull both belts down. The last ladder match that Cody Rhodes had was a losing effort against Sammy Guevara in AEW.
Mm.
He has not had a ladder match since. He was teased for Money in the Bank, but obviously they didn't do that year. Obviously, Money in the Bank this year has already come and gone anyways. You still have an Elimination Chamber, though. You could have him drop the belt. You can have him challenge Gunther or win Elimination Chamber and have a different WrestleMania path. Still gets him in the main event. You can still do fucking a 4-way at that point with Gunther and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and Roman Reigns, because who the fuck knows, because anything can change. But I just feel that I don't think you turn him heel yet. I know I'm saying there's a chance, but I don't know.
I
don't think you can turn fucking Cena heel just for this, because it's his last one, probably.
I think the problem that I have with this is that I don't know if this audience is going to be behind Cody in this.
That's the
which
problem,
I don't
too.
know. That's the problem I have with it, because it's like, are you sacrificing Cody's momentum for a short term or short time thing? And because you're putting him up against a guy that right now, which I don't understand, is the sentimental favorite. Why is that happening right now? It's literally my fucking worst nightmare.
I feel like I'm having a brain aneurysm. I'm gonna tell you that. I just wrote the next 6 months of WWE television in my head, because you can turn Cody heel for this, and you could have him feud Cena for the whole fucking year if you wanted to, and people would not get bored of it. Insert some side feuds in between for Cody, maybe, and because he drops the belt at Mania, which I don't want, but it's probably going to happen, as you said. And then, I don't know, maybe he gets it back at the first 2-day SummerSlam.
Maybe he sacrifices, maybe he retains, and then Cena wins it after Mania, because maybe they feel like that they don't want to sacrifice Cody yet and have him lose at his first WrestleMania, because again, that's the thing. I think, because
but does it matter? Hold
Cody
on.
losing.
Hold on.
Okay.
Does it matter if he loses? Does it really matter? He already lost. Yeah, he lost at 39. He lost night 1 of 40, and then he won on night 2. So
It
in
matters.
3 main events of WrestleMania, he's already 1 and 2. So does it really matter?
It matters because of this. Roman Reigns won the title like a week after SummerSlam, so in the vicinity of SummerSlam.
Okay.
A year later, at SummerSlam 2021, he beats John Cena. So that year arc of Cody beats Roman, Cody needs to beat Cena because Roman defeated Cena a year in. And if I know you're not trying to compare Reigns,
No,
but still at the same time, you need to be, if you want Cody Rhodes to be on the same level and keep him at the same level of Roman Reigns, he has to beat John Cena at WrestleMania. He has to.
So listen, I know that he's saying it's his last year, but who was to say this does not go into 2026 and finalize at WrestleMania the following year? Who's to say? We don't know any of the timeline here. I'm just going to throw that out there first, okay? Make that whatever you want. However, I know the way that they can turn Cody Rhodes. And it is quite simply taking a page right out of fucking Cena's book and basically telling him, hey, this is your last hurrah. You had your hurrahs already. We don't need you here. We don't want a part-timer here. Just like he did with the fucking Rock. And you can swing it that way. Because, hey, listen, he is a movie star at this point. People love him. You can turn Cody for a year. My argument then becomes, I think that is very effective. I don't think it's going to be a strong heel unless they make him do something, obviously. But my concern is, if they do that, and you put the belt on Cena, where's the payback to Cody down the road? That's the biggest issue that I have with it. I don't think it takes him out of the main event. It just takes the title off of him. He's still obviously in the main event because Cena's not going to be there every fucking week. So they are still going to need Cody to hold something down. But then the question becomes, well, do they if Roman is staying on SmackDown? Or is he going to Raw to be on Netflix all the time? So again, same question. Where is that eventual payoff for Cody Rhodes? Because yeah, you are going to stunt his momentum a little bit. But, you know, I don't know. Because let's be real, and we keep saying this is why I put the camera on you for a reaction, but, like, does it come to a point where they have to look at it of, like, it's high risk, high reward? It could work, but is it really going to? And then are they able to, or will they, then pivot to make sure, or ensure maybe, that Cody's still the top guy, if not the champion, obviously. It's so many variables that he brings into this fucking situation, and I fucking hate it.
I hate it just because for many factors, but also it's just overall, it's just I do not want a divide to start to begin. Like the problem is that yes, the divide on the internet and the marks, yeah, fine, whatever.
Well,
but I think
that's a constant.
I think it's still the overwhelmingness of everything. It has been long enough, I guess, for the Cena era to kind of worn off, right? But it still lingers. And all I think Cody needs to do to turn heel is just look at John at one comment and just look at him and say, I've sold more in 3 than you did in 20.
I don't think they'll ever do that. I think it'd be hilarious, but I just never see them doing that.
No, I could see.
Listen,
it depends.
If they give Cody full reign to write his shit, probably. But I don't think they do, and I don't think they will. But if they let Cody cook on his own, and I'll liken it to the MJF situation, right? hold on. I'll liken it to the MJF situation. Obviously, he's given full creative control to say whatever the fuck he wants. That was proven on Wednesday. If they did that for Cody Rhodes, that definitely comes out of his mouth.
I wonder
But if they
if
write his shit and they don't let him talk off script, he's not saying it. I don't think they would do it.
I wonder if the numbers. I kind of want to see the numbers. I want to see where the
merch, you
merch
mean?
numbers. Yep, I want to see those numbers. I want to see the next 60 to 90 days of where
Merch goes.
the merch goes. Just because of the fact that is going to be, I think, another telling sign of what direction they're going to go to. Because, and I want to see where Cena ranks. I want to see if he even gets back into the top 5 or the top 10 because
He's in the top 4.
he's in the top.
Yeah, top 4. So, oh, I'm sorry, it is top 5. I'm pulling a random website. I don't even know what website this is, but
Okay.
I've already looked at a few different websites as you're talking. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. Number 2, Roman Reigns. Number 3, CM Punk. Number 4 is Jey Uso. Number 5 is John Cena.
Okay.
I'll try to find numbers, but let me just round out the top 10 just in case anybody's curious, because those are all men. 6 and 7 are actually women. It's Liv Morgan, followed by Rhea Ripley. Number 8 is LA Knight. Number 9 is Randy Orton. And number 10 is Damian Priest. So that's your entire top 10.
So I want to know. So well, but
The numbers. I know what you want.
No, I not the numbers. Not, but I want to know like what. And I'm not saying I need to know this now. I'm just saying that I want because they're just ramping up the new merch now for Cena. So I'm wondering where he's going to land and does he surpass Cody? That'll be a telling sign. If he surpasses Cody, if he's the number 1 merch seller come after the Royal Rumble, I think that cements where they're going.
So it looks like he moved up at the end of the year.
Okay. Where's he at?
No. He's still number 5.
Okay.
But during the year, it looked like he was number 7.
Okay.
And then I think he had that surge probably.
Probably post announcement at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I think so. Because
That was when they started to put out a lot of the retro stuff.
Yeah.
And that had a factor into it. But I wonder where it's going to go now because the thing about it is that the people need to realize, and it's something that I think that, because again, I have to go back to 20 years ago, and I have to go back to when I was, because 20 years ago, we all looked at the Hogan era, like Hogan was such remembrance and celebration and all that stuff. 20 years later, not so much. I said, well, they might look at it well, but they don't want to see him around.
Right.
That's one I'll say. But so those kids that grew up 7, 8 years old, they're now 27 something, and they're looking at Cena and they're just like, by the way, they got money to spend, so maybe they can spend their extra $35 on a shirt, or and you wonder if this is gonna be kind of like a Grateful Dead thing where you gotta come now to see him because once he's gone, he's gone. It's literally like a limited engagement, right? Like once this is gone, it's gone, and you wonder if it's gonna have an effect on if also what the ticket sales are gonna be. I'd like to see what WrestleTix numbers are when he becomes the number 1 contender. For any of the championships.
See, listen, here's the thing, too. And I can't underscore this. You're not wrong in anything you said, but I want to throw this other statement out there. People that are buying merch in a lot of cases, too, are going to fucking shows or going to events. And part of the reason I'm saying this is I just read some comments as I'm trying to find more information. Obviously, I'm not going to find the numbers right now. But I just... The Rock and all this and all that. And it's like, you talk about Steve Austin in the past, you talk about The Rock in the past, and merch movers in the past. It's just like, okay, there are people that'll still wear what I'll just say are those retro shirts in terms of previous superstars, but they're gonna buy shit for current superstars too. And now that Cena is one of those again, you're right. Those numbers are gonna go up.
I feel like that teddy bear.
What teddy bear?
Shifting my eyes.
Why?
Because you were talking about the guys that buy the retro shirts, they might buy the current ones too. And I'm thinking to myself,
I meant to go to a show though.
oh right, yeah.
I'm not
'Cause a
talking
pervert
about
mostly.
that. Yeah, no. Dude, I'll still wear that NWO shirt with pride no matter. I don't care.
I know.
But yeah, I'm just saying in terms of going to events, you might buy some of those shirts like I'm talking about in that context. But what I'm also saying is you're probably a lot more people buying active talent gear. Like Jey Uso is surged, man. I know he's
Yes, he
not in the
has.
top two with Cody and Roman, but he is surged with that Yeet stuff, man. It's so ironic. But at the same token, like that is what they will buy. They will buy Cody.
Do
Rhodes
you
stuff.
think Cena will overtake Cody or Roman
in merch?
going into WrestleMania? Yeah.
Only if he's in the main event.
Okay.
I think he has a chance
I don't
to
know.
catch them and be right behind them. But if he's
I don't know
not,
if he's won. I don't know if he's won. He might get to 2. I don't know if he's won.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, it's gonna depend on the main event. I know it sounds cliche given what I just said, but it's the truth.
I don't know if he
is on night
surpasses.
one-
I don't know if he surpasses Roman.
If
I
he's
don't
on
know if he
night one
surpasses Cody.
or 2, there's a chance.
I think he'll be on 2.
So
I think he'll be on 2.
So okay, so hold on. Just let's clarify this. He's also behind CM Punk and Jey Uso. Do you think he can catch them? Because you're asking me about 1 and 2, so let's ask about 3 and 4.
I think he might pass Uso. I think he can pass Uso, no problem. I don't know. I don't know if he can pass CM Punk, because I think the CM Punk thing is
Okay, so let's talk about CM Punk just real quick,
right.
because we're talking about merch, and I feel this applies to CM Punk and John Cena do have a history.
Yes.
What if he fights? And you can make the argument for any of those 3 that we just talked about, for not just CM Punk, but also for Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso. Maybe not 1 or 2, but definitely for Uso and CM Punk. Do you feel that if he is facing any of those 4, but especially the last 2 that I just mentioned, that there is that higher chance that he can pass either or both of them? Even if it's not a main event, it's still a high-profile match for either of those 4 guys, especially the first 2, but definitely the last 2 as well.
I don't know. It's late.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was actually going to say the same thing. Fair enough. 'cause it's late.
I was thinking, I'm like, I think we, because again, we could, because the way we ended this, and I'm like, we're gonna have 3 months to talk about this.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's good
it's
speculation
still,
for later.
it's good speculation because,
It's something
again-
to talk about in the next couple months too.
yeah, because next week we got Saturday night's main event, and then 2 weeks is the Rumble.
Yep.
And then really, that's when
We're in
things
the
really start to
season.
kick
Yeah,
off.
we're in
It's
the
getting to that
season,
season.
Yep.
And then we got the NFL playoffs this weekend, and then the league championship game, which is the same series. The league championship weekend is actually the same weekend as
The Rumble, isn't it?
no, it's actually the same weekend as Saturday night's main event.
Oh, that's right.
But they're going to run unopposed because the games are on Sunday instead of Saturday. So.
Yep.
So. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We kind of had like a smorgasbord tonight. We tried to talk about everything, and everything that's been going on in the industry. We're going to try to do it again next week, but we're probably going to preview some of the matches for Saturday night's main event. Their second one which I thought this was going to be a quarterly thing. Instead, it's just like, well, a month later, yeah, that's fine.
Well, I mean,
okay,
starting quarter 4 of 2024, next quarter is quarter 1. So, I mean,
that's true.
they could have spaced it out better, but I mean, maybe they want to make it a January thing in the future. Who knows?
Did you see that they booked it for July 9th, which is the same day as All In?
I did not, which I think is hilarious now, actually.
I love it.
Shit.
That's
Exactly. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Our buy rate's going to go down. Nobody cares. It's going to be on Max anyways. All right. All right. I just wanted to say goodnight to everybody, or good morning, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back next week. So long.
Bye.
Oh, shit.